Ah, wrong lever. All right, we kick off episode 4, titled The Rubblemoot. As our player characters, Xerxes, Varhelion, and Red, have trudged out across the last bit of wasteland that is between them and what Varhelion knows is the Rubblemoot. It's been 3 days of weary travel. And Varhelion, you're able to see it on the horizon. A statue in the sand. Oh no, I didn't see the picture. Frick. This statue of a tall, robed figure. It's chipped in places, the nose has fallen off. Bits of debris have fallen off of it. It's holding a sword in 2 hands clenched like this. It towers 50 feet in height. It's the same color as the sand around it. It's 60 feet or so off in the distance. What do you 3 do?
I would like to make my way towards the tents that are kind of orange in color, because like they're all scattered, and there's tents everywhere that are like every color imaginable. Well, that is easily attainable in a lifeless waste. So a lot
I would
of
like to correct you, Ryan. There are no tents.
Oh. Wait,
there is no sign of living, of life.
But this is where the
around the statue.
Rubblemoot.
This is where the Rubblemoot is.
So we just see the statue and just like
Yes.
sand.
And sand all around it. And I would love to have saved the picture that I had of this location. And give me 5 seconds. I am totally prepared.
I think at this point, Red would like very ironically would just say, like, are we almost there? Just kind of exhausted and tired and just obviously can't see the statue that is right there.
Well, well, we should be here already, but there's no one here. Can I roll, like, what would that be? Nature to determine whether I mistook it? Like, mistook what day it is?
You can totally, yeah. An intelligence check. Throw in some nature proficiency with it.
Okay. 17?
So you are certain that this is where it has been, each year before at the summer solstice. And you can look up and you see the sun is at its highest in the sky. And you see the statue. And it's a statue where you recognize. But your memory is hazy. You don't know why there isn't a Rubblemoot here. You remember there just being a huge gathering of ash elves of various tribes. You remember there being flowing water to give out in cupfuls to the families and the clansmen. But you look around and there's just nothingness.
So I didn't get the day wrong.
And I finally found the picture. So I'm going to try and screen share it. Okay, I'm going to screen share. And you see this.
Yeah.
You guys see it? Yeah, so this is what you guys see. This statue. And it's a statue you recognize, Varhelion.
Or what Red doesn't see.
No. But if someone were to describe it to Red, this is what she'd imagine in her mind's eye.
Yeah.
So this is your Rubblemoot elf? How am I supposed to get the information about whereabouts of fiends? There's no people here.
Hold your horses. I'm thinking. But, so, I didn't get the day wrong.
You don't think you got the day wrong, no. You don't think you got the
I-
location wrong either.
So I think at the site of no people here, Xerxes would immediately be kind of suspicious and just start eyeing the horizon, just trying to like watch out for any enemies or this might be a trap or something. So just very wary,
Yeah, you can give me a perception check.
and on guard.
As the sun is high up in the sky, it's it's glaring in your eyes.
So
Your sweat.
got a,
What did you get? What did you get? Sorry.
I got a 16.
Yeah. And so as you kind of look on the horizon, look for any kind of figures hiding in the rubble behind rocks, you do notice on one petrified tree, 30, 50 feet away, there's just a scarbird perched on it in this tree by itself, looking at the three of you, its eyes full of hunger and curiosity. And in the rolling sand dunes that are surrounding this area, you do see footprints in the sand. And they all seem to congregate and kind of shuffle around in this area. There's, as you look closer, like a bunch of footprints near the statue.
I think Red at this point would be very suspicious of Varhelion. She hasn't known him, and he has been, even though he has been kind to her, she's heard of whispers of a underground kind of slave where they would go find people, or slavering where they go and find people out in the desert and kidnap them, and even in these little villages and kidnap them and make it seem like they're bringing them somewhere else, but then they get lost forever and no one ever sees them again. So at this point, she would just kind of slowly back away, and she would draw her sword, hoping to not kind of let Varhelion know that she's suspicious, so possibly a stealth check.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. Use my Atcon dice.
Yeah, you can show it off to the camera too after.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'll show it in a second.
From the convention you guys went to?
Yeah. I got 15. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Super cool.
Oh, nice.
But anyway, yeah, I got a 15.
And so a 15.
And I would be trying to, as best as, using my other senses to kind of split them up. Like one part would be kind of trying to read him, trying to see if I can sense any uneasiness that he's portraying, and try to see if I can hear anything approaching or something like that.
Yeah, totally. Ryan, is Varhelion trying to betray his companions? Go ahead and chat this one out.
Old man right now, like he's a bit shocked that there's nothing, and he doesn't really know how to proceed, and he kind of like sits down cross-legged on the sand and just stares at the statue. He's gone a bit fugue-ish, like not that Red can see, but if Xerxes looked over, he'd just see him kind of staring vaguely off into space. He doesn't really know what to make of this, and it's kind of it's triggered an episode of his kind of forgetfulness, so he can't really think of what's going on. Doesn't really know how to proceed.
I think Xerxes would just after surveying the landscape, give another suspicious kind of and just kind of wander forward, and maybe if I notice those footprints at the base of the statue, I'd like to investigate them further.
Yeah, and so can you give me like an investigation or a survival check to kind of look at these tracks in the sand and try to make something of them?
Ooh, damn. Okay, so I got a 21 on I rolled a survival check.
Yeah, and so you've tracked people across the sand before. It's fairly easy to see their imprints, especially if there's no snow or not snow, no sand has been blown over by any windstorm. It's basically fresh, and you see just dozens of people's footprints, kind of shuffling the sand, and then the footprints seem to be congregating at the base of the statue itself, where almost entirely around the statue is just packed earth. It's no longer loose sand, but as if hundreds of footsteps. Excuse me.
Can I tell they're humanoid? The tracks?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, they're humanoid. The foot size is a little smaller than your size, suggesting someone a little smaller stature, but barely. I mean, you are a mountain of meat, so
I'm pretty big. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Well, it seems like people have gathered here recently. We might have just missed them.
Varhelian's just sitting on the ground. He's kind of fingering a little black bag that kind of rattles as he fingers it, and he doesn't respond to any vocalizations.
Would Red smell anything?
Red would smell. Actually, give me a perception check here. Yeah.
She doesn't even know where her nose is. Sorry,
No, it's just a smell of this volcanic sand.
Yeah.
Just overcoming sensors. There's nothing to smell here besides the dirtiness of the area. Maybe her nostrils filled with sand at this point.
Yeah.
From the sandstorms that she's walked through in the past week.
Well, what the hell do we do now? We're out in the middle of nowhere. No sign of anyone. This was a huge waste of time.
Where are the tracks? You said there were tracks. Where do they lead somewhere?
Do they, or are they just around the base of the statue?
They seem to come from basically every direction, and all leading to the statue. And you realize there are no footprints leading away from the statue.
It's odd. Looks like people came to gather here from all directions, but there's no trace of anyone leaving. Odd.
Where is the statue?
Follow my voice. It's right in front of me.
Yeah, and she would kind of walk slowly forward, hands outstretched, and just place her hands on the statue and just proceed to touch the statue everywhere she can, just trying to feel its shape, trying to. Yeah,
and as you touch the statue, you get a lurch in your stomach, like a kind of a queasiness. Xerxes and Varhelian, Red disappears.
Oh.
She seems to vanish right in front of your eyes.
I think immediately after seeing this, Xerxes would just be like, "What the?" Draw his hand axe and just chop at the statue, just like a reflex.
And as you hit,
maybe he thought the statue took her away.
As you swing at the statue, you clang the steel against it, and as it does so, your sword just disappears. It vanishes.
Oh, I like that one.
You can still see kind of the chip mark in the stone where you struck, but your hand is empty. You kind of almost, kind of trip over the lack of momentum and the weight you're used to carrying through or something. You're just startled by the lack of weapon in your hand.
Immediately after that, I'd just take a few steps back and just outside kind of stare at the statue in surprise and like in astonishment. And I'd probably look over my shoulder at Varhelion and I'd say, "Elf, there's some strange magic going on here."
And Varhelion doesn't really notice anything, but the bag, he's fingering the bag, and then the bag kind of opens of its own accord, and like a pile of little tiny bones slips out and kind of forms into a cat shape, and then the almost very real, but just if you catch it in the glint of a sun, ghostly figure of a ginger cat kind of forms right over the skeleton, and it meows, and then Varhelion snaps out of it, and he says, "Oh right, the mechanism." And he kind of hobbles over to the statue. He's obviously very shaken and seems almost more ancient than he already is. And he puts his hand on the statue and he says, "If you want your sword back, you'll probably have to do this too." And I assume vanishes.
Yes, and as it all comes back to you, because like seeing things disappear and touch the statue. Like, how could you have been so stupid? How could you have forgotten the way to get to the Rubblemoot? And as you put your wrinkled hands, these bony fingers on, as soon as they touch the stone of this statue, you also vanish. And kind of a queasy, lurching feeling in your stomach as you kind of disappear. And Xerxes, you stand alone in the sands.
And I think after even already seeing this 3 times, Xerxes would still take maybe another step back, just like really looking at it in confusion. Just kind of mutter to himself, "Oh, I don't like this." And kind of just slowly approach and maybe pause, has his hands just about to touch the statue, then quickly goes and puts his hand on it.
Yeah, and as your hand is close to the stone, you can feel the hairs on the back of your hand kind of stand on end. And you kind of push your hand into the stone. And again, you kind of get the sickening wrenching of your stomach. You kind of like your stomach kind of leaps into your body a bit. And you kind of appear slumped, crouched, next to Red, next to Varhelion. You don't appear on sand. You appear on this thin grass that you can see in every direction. You see your sword kind of laying there in the earth. It's laying there as if, it kind of just fell. And you see Red just breathing in this fresh air. And you see, as you kind of look around you, you see palm trees growing. You see banners flying high in reds and blues and oranges and yellows. You see tents. You see dozens of people, dozens of other ash elves walking around carrying baskets, carrying trinkets and garments, and children walking around between these stalls. Some are, laying on these blankets, trying to bargain with passerbys. Some ash elves are dancing to the sound of beating drums as they kind of, skip and dance. Some are dressed in outlandish garbs with these long wooden sticks, kind of fencing, off on a platform, and there's crowds of other ash elves kind of like, cheering woo or booing or something. You see up ahead between these trees, you see more of these elves kind of just swinging, trapeze style between the branches. They're tossing, some kind of, coconuts to each other in some kind of, elaborate acrobatic performance. There's this feel of camaraderie, of happiness all around, something that's very foreign to you. And you see the giant pool of water, this oasis in the center of this village gathering. And you see these big canyon walls just surrounding you guys, isolating you from the outside world. What would you guys like to do?
I think in most situations, Xerxes would immediately go for his weapon again to pick it up, and so he has it on him. But he's just so taken aback by this whole sight. He's rarely ever seen something so peaceful, you know, something as kind of cheery as this, and it's been a long time since he has actually felt, you know, a sense of security or general like happiness in the air. And he's just really taken aback by this, and just kind of like scans the whole landscape, taking it all in, taking a moment.
Varhelion, accompanied by this now very real-looking little ginger cat, reaches down and hands Xerxes his store, and he says, "Keep this sheathed. It's not all right to keep these types of things open, like out in the open. Keep your weapons sheathed while you're here." And he looks over at Red and says, "You too." And you see him smile for the first time, you think, ever since meeting him. And he kind of says, "Stay close to me. They don't like outlanders." And he walks off in the direction of, because the tents are kind of set up in quadrants, like almost like there's a little bit of intermixing. Like you might find some orange tents in with the blue and some red tents mixed in with the orange, but it's almost set up in quadrants around the central pool. And he heads off in the direction of the orange tents, kind of towards the center of them, or at least as near as you can approximate.
Yeah, and as he says this, where outlanders aren't taken kindly to, these two taller, brawnier ash elves, they're young compared to Varhelion. They approach the three of you, wielding, you know, kind of spear, this long spear in one hand, and this wooden shield in the other, colored with blues and oranges, these dyes and paints on them in elaborate patterns. Their hair tied back in a loose ponytail at the top of their head. Their bodies covered in furs and scales and, you know, wood armor. What are you doing here? You don't belong.
I look at the one who spoke, and I say, "Is that you, Dem Adrin? Do you know how many years I've been coming here?"
No, not you, Varhelion. Them, kind of pointing his spear at the two non-ash elves.
They're with me. They've been very helpful in getting here. You know, these old bones, they struggle to even make it across the desert anymore. They've been very helpful.
You know what rules we have about outsiders?
Yes, that if they're vouched for by an elder in the community, that it's up to the ruling Ashkans to decide.
The other guard.
I don't believe you're even.
He does have a point. Very well. I'm keeping an eye on you two. Don't get any trouble. And they kind of separate to let you guys past. They give you glares, though, as you approach and walk through. Xerxes, you can just feel their eyes meeting yours. Mm-hmm. Just giving you a very kind of stern, kind of aggressive, territorial kind of look.
And I think Xerxes would kind of meet their gaze, and as he passes, just kind of stare at them as he goes by. And I think at that, he'd stow the axe that Varhelion had given back to him and take his helmet off, which is kind of rare for Xerxes, as he only ever does this, really, as he sleeps, and stows it in his pack. It's kind of a sign of trust. You know, he doesn't need his armor to cover his face, and stows it in his pack.
What does Red make of all the sounds going on around her? All the voices, all the laughter and the music and the dancing and the beating of
smells
drums.
Of cooking food.
The smells of perfumes, cooking food, ointments, the sound of children splashing in the water, of people washing their garments and kind of just and doing such. What's going on in her mind?
I think that Red would have never heard anything like this before. She never grew up in a space where anyone laughed, anyone spoke freely. She was always raised in war, basically, and she is so used to the quiet of the desert. And I think that this would be maybe all a little bit too much for her. And so she would be very, very withdrawn, keeping her head down, maybe flinching almost as, maybe some children run in front of her. And she almost like flinches back as if she's, about to be bitten. And this is something that you've never seen from Red. I mean, Red stared down that hunter with nothing, not even a shake of her hand, but with a child, she seems to almost cower in this fear of this complete unknown atmosphere. So I think she would also stick very close to Varhelion, maybe like stepping on the back of his heels every so often, like that's how close she is, and just keeping her head down and just making herself as small as possible. Very, very unusual behavior for Red.
And what does Xerxes make of this situation, this gathering of people in seemingly bliss, in paradise, it almost seems, compared to the ruggedness of the outside world?
I think Xerxes responds a bit differently, actually. He's not quite trusting of the situation. It's almost like a too good to be true situation. But at the same time, he kind of lets his guard down a little bit. He is so kind of astonished or taken aback by this display of community that, if anything, he's kind of almost enjoying himself as he walks through the streets and through the sand and through the encampments, which is pretty rare for him to actually be enjoying himself or kind of taking in the scenery like this.
And I imagine the feeling of the grass and the soft earth in your feet. It just giving you a comfort. It's like walking on carpet compared to, stones and rubble and sand. And just the moisture and the humidity in the air gives your, skin and lips, kind of relief as the moisture helps, moisten them up. They've been dry for so long.
I think Xerxes would also say something like, "Wow, I didn't know a place like this existed."
That's why the statue and the secrecy. If just anyone knew, it wouldn't exist. And as Varhelion kind of makes his way through the crowd, a lot of people will say, stop and kind of bow their heads a little bit and say, "Greetings, uncle." And he nods to each of them in kind. Some of them he stops and exchanges a few words with, like, "What news of your family?" or stops to look at a new birth or something, and he just keeps wandering on. He kind of wanders in like a counterclockwise circle. So even though the orange tents were in like close to the entrance, they were one of the two colors kind of very towards the edge, but he kind of makes his way around the whole circle, stopping and chatting to people. And he kind of, noticing that Red is kind of nervous and sticking very close to me, gently pulls her around beside him by the arm and walks kind of linked arms with her and says, "We'll be somewhere quiet very soon." and just kind of keeps moving, eventually arriving at the orange, like near the center of the orange tents. But then he ducks into a little tent unless something waylays us.
Yeah, and as you this jarring walking and stopping to chat, walking and stopping to chat. I feel like Red would have bumped into Varhelion a few times, following so close.
Yeah, and I think maybe Varhelion would have brought her over, both as like a comfort and because the back of his heels are probably pretty sore right now.
Yep.
For her stepping on them. But when Varhelion would say that, she would just kind of, just a very slight nod, but would continue just to head down, shoulders hunched over, trying to block out just all this assaulting her senses.
Yeah, and as you're walking through the crowd, you'd hear whisperings in regards to you. In particular, you hear a young girl, "Mommy, Mommy, what's that?" "Oh, no. Quick, come inside, hon. Come on. There's nothing you should worry yourself about." But there's like a pang of kind of nervousness. Like you are drawing a lot of attention to yourself, Red, with your white skin, your tail, your horns, because you are a tiefling. And a tiefling has a lot of connotation here in Crifoth, especially to these ash elves. A tiefling is never a bearer of good news, an omen of good things to them. And so you follow Varhelion through these just crowded tents. It feels like there's so many people in such a small space. The entire encampment of ash elves can't be wider, across than like maybe 200 feet. But there's just families upon families living here. And you walk into this tent, kind of, it's got this big orange banners and shafts and poles, like almost totem poles, off from it, just painted with this orange dye. And you duck inside Varhelion, and you see it's darker, it's shaded. You see the small can of candle made from a wax of some insect creature illuminating the small area, and you see these cushions where some ash elves are sitting. And Ryan, who are these ash elves in this tent?
Is this the smaller tent, like belonging to my family or belonging to the Ashcon?
To be whichever one you are headed towards.
Well, the tent of the small family. So there's like a small cooking fire in the center. There's kind of little like baskets and other woven boxes for containing things. But like it's obviously like this tent has been set up here for a while. It's lived in. There's like sleeping mats that are rolled up in the corner because they're only rolled out when it's bed. And I say, "May the sun shine warmly upon your face, Tharana." And there's this woman kind of poking at the cooking fire with a stick with a baby in one arm. And she kind of jumps up and says, "Uncle," and runs over and embraces me, but kind of squishing the baby, which kind of gurgles and cries.
Yeah, and she would kind of answer your greeting with, "And may Sul protect you, shield you. May Sul shield you," is what she says. As you say, "May the sun shine upon your face," and so may Sul shield you. And then she comes in, "Oh, Uncle," and gives you this big hug and kind of squeezing this baby in. Mm-hmm. "Oh, it's been so long. Tell me, what of your travels?"
I've been near the cities of Old Ostland again. Still, darkness hangs as a pall over those places. And to the trader towns. Nothing much. I don't remember much from recently. I awoke in a cavern with these two outlanders, and they aided me. We went to my old friend Basha's. Sadly, he is no longer with us. And since then, we've made our way in the long trek across the desert from the Scar. And here, because I noticed the Rubblemoot was soon, and I haven't come in, what is it, 3, 4 years?
Yeah, it's been 4 Rubblemoots, Uncle. I was worried about you.
Oh, you know me. I'm always fine. I make my own way.
You always say that. And I want to believe it. I mean, you haven't given me a reason to not believe it. And she kind of calls out to another section of the tent. Kids, Uncle's here. And you hear the pitter-patter of
There's
2 more
two-
feet. Yeah.
Well, yeah, 2 more sets of feet.
Yeah.
And it says, is this Adra and Adran? They must be, what, 5, 6 now?
Yeah, the last time you saw them, they were... I had them in my arms.
And now
And
they're
now she kind of
fully
like
grown.
ruffles the hair of, the one of them. And says, yeah, they've grown so well. It's a blessing.
It really is. You have been blessed, Thorana. Where is Varin? Is he nearby? It's her eldest son. He's older than the twins.
I think he's down at the pond.
Mm. With his father,
Yes.
Adril?
Yes.
You've been keeping well since the last Rubblemoot.
And she kind of reveals her hand, and she's missing 2 fingers.
What happened?
Oh, it was nothing much. Just a hunting gone a little wrong. Nothing to worry yourself with.
Well, we'll see. I'll look over your scars later and see what I can do. Any phantom pains? Probably. There always is with lost limbs.
Yeah. She kind of think about it like, yeah, there have been.
No matter. Life contains these accidents. But who is this young blessing? A new member of your clan? Looking down at the little baby.
She says, "Oh, just a few moons old. This little thing."
And their name?
Dareen.
Dareen. That is a good name.
She's got the eyes of her father.
It's a good name. Named after her grandmother.
What was she like?
Your Adril's mother? She was very wise. The best wise woman in a generation.
And Xerxes, what are you doing
I think
during this dialogue?
Yeah, I think as Xerxes is kind of watching this go down, he's just standing kind of at the threshold of the tent, not quite coming in. He's actually feeling a bit kind of uncomfortable, uneasy, kind of like he's intruding on this family moment, and he himself isn't used to any family or any real connections like this, so he doesn't quite know how to behave or how to act himself, so he kind of just stands awkwardly right at the door of the tent and in silence, just watching this go down.
And I think that you'd hear from someone outside, "Hey, human, are you lost?"
And at that, Varhelion kind of snaps up and is kind of pulled out of this family moment, and he says, Thorana, let me introduce my friends. But first, he kind of steps out of the tent and says, who said that?
And you see just some teenage hooligan kind of elf. Like, he kind of, was talking up Xerxes. And immediately as you pop out, he just bolts. Pew! Runs off. I mean, imagine him just like hopping over down this ledge, down onto, the lane below. And just you see him just run off into some bush or something. He couldn't have been any older than maybe 13 years.
I think
if that was Dem's younger brother, I'll have a talking to their father later. They're always in trouble.
I think at the mention, after that kid yelled, Xerxes would kind of just check over his shoulder and just, after he scurries away, just kind of disregard, like, some stupid kid. And at the mention of Varhelion introducing me, I'd kind of step forward and say, my name is Xerxes. It's a pleasure to be here. And kind of extend my hand towards her.
And she says, "Under sun and sky, Outlander, we greet you warmly."
And
I
she
think
does so.
Xerxes just like
Her
acknowledging
hands
like a grunt.
occupied with the baby, and so she kind of looks at your hand that you've extended, and she kind of looks at it, kind of puzzlingly.
I think Xerxes kind of did that just because that's kind of how you meet people, but another kind of like awkward gesture. Then realizes she's carrying a baby and just like, yeah, kind of just retracts it.
And the twins are kind of surreptitiously standing beside their mother, and they look almost as if they want to ask something because they're glancing at Red and like.
Yeah, they're like tugging on something, maybe the mother's dress.
Mm-hmm.
And they're eyeing the two twins. They're each eyeing both of you, Red and Xerxes, because you just look so different than an ash elf. Like you're like Xerxes, you find yourselves at least a foot taller than every other ash elf, and Red has a tiefling traits.
I can kind of see myself even before, as I was just standing at the entrance before I kind of stepped forward and introduced myself, kind of like hunching a little bit over at the 10th entrance, which is a bit shorter. But yeah, and Xerxes is a pretty scary figure himself with his kind of deformed little scars on his face and his towering stature.
And the ash elf boy kind of tugs on his mom's dress and kind of whispers in her ear, "Mom, why is he so white?"
And Varhelion kind of hears it and says, Most people in the outside world are that white, Adron. In fact, many, many moons ago, your ancestors had skin paler than snow.
Well, what's snow, Uncle?
Paler than the white rocks outside the valleys of Dor. Paler even than that.
Oh, wow. What's snow?
Snow
Mommy, can we go see the snow? Uncle has some snow. Can we go see snow?
Can I do prestidigitation to like turn a tiniest amount of water into snow?
I would absolutely let you do that. Yeah.
So I say, "This is snow, young ones," and I kind of turn a small amount of water from my water skin into snow, and then just kind of sprinkle it over their faces, and they get the little chills of snowflakes on their faces that then melt.
These snowflakes kind of twinkle in the sunlight, but they melt, before they hit the ground. And one of the kids tries poking it, and it kind of just splats on their finger. They just see the water, and they lick the water off. Wow, hey, Uncle's so cool, they'd say to each other. I want to be like Uncle. And they start waving their hands about like you did and saying the words that you said. But of course, it's all mumbled up, You'd say Arushana or something. And they go, Amubadu. And they start to, like chase each other in the tent. Maybe they knock over some urn as they kind of run outside, chasing each other and laughing and giggling. So how long are you planning on staying? The mother would ask you, Varhelion.
Well, as long as we can afford to. We're here to look for information. I came to find more reagents and ingredients for my various studies, but these two have other things bringing them here. But mostly we'll meet with the wise woman and Dakmakul, the Ash Khan of House Hren, of Clan Hren, and then I need to meet to convene the other Ash Khans and the Wise Woman. And the Sun-Kissed. I need to talk to them all. There's something brewing, but I don't know what.
She kind of bows her head, knowing that you, as kind of a more of authoritative figure, a wiser figure, like you've got a bunch of stuff on your plate, and like, you know, usually you don't come to the Rubblemoot to just meet with people and relax. You usually come with some kind of affair or business to attend to. And she kind of just bows her head and very well, and is like, and she would say to you, you know, may the sun shine upon your face.
And you, Thirana. I will be back later. We will catch up, and you will tell me all the news of the wider family.
Yeah, and she would give you the kind of departure greeting, 2 fingers up or something, and go back to poking at the fire and maybe flipping these root vegetables in the flame, just to kind of give them the proper searing as you depart this tent.
And so, as we leave, I mutter to myself, I must make a point of coming every year from now on. Sometimes, though, my studies and my mind wanders. And so we make our way towards the largest tent in the orange, kind of section.
Yeah, and this tent is adorned with the bones and skulls and antlers and carapaces of various creatures. Like mammoth tent style, where it's just propped up by these massive bones. And it's got these thin curtain, bead string curtains in the front that kind of clatter and jingle if you were to brush them aside. This tent is massive. It's 50 feet wide and who knows how far deep, but it definitely is the centerpiece of this kind of cluster in this orange quadrant. And as you brush aside the beads, the bead curtain, you'd see again more cushions on the earth. You'd see a gathering of 3 individuals sitting on these cushions, kind of a triangle shape, around a fire that's been it's a very small fire in the center of the room. They have these ceramic cups. So some will be ceramic, some will be a hollowed out horn of some creature, and you can kind of hear the sloshing of some kind of liquid inside of them, probably water or some kind of fermented beverage they have. And the one of them, they're all similarly garbed to the guardsmen that you encountered earlier, with the patchwork armor of hides and scales and carapaces and wood. But the third one, he's got a big headdress full of feathers and bones and little rodent skulls and such. And they seem to be talking about some kind of serious matter. And they kind of pause to see you 3 enter this longhouse, this tent longhouse. Varhelion, is that you? The headdressed one would ask.
Greetings, Dak Makul. Ashkan of Clan Hren.
And then he kind of puts his fist over his chest, saying, "May the sun shine upon your face, old one."
And may souls shield you.
And he stands up, kind of brushing off the dirt and sand on his legs from sitting, and comes over to greet you.
And
what brings you here?
Information mostly, but it was the nearest safe haven for myself and my companions, these outlanders. They saved me, so I ask your blessing first among the Ashkans to grant them safe haven here in our Rubblemoot.
And you can vouch for these outlanders?
As much as any outlander, yes.
He kind of
I think.
He eyes the 2 of you up and down. He kind of notes the horns on Red's face. He notes the tall brawniness of Xerxes and the ebony weapon he holds at his side, the axe. He kind of gives a gruff nod of approval.
And I lean in and kind of say, they're skilled. They may be of some use to us in whatever tasks the Ashkans have. They would even be ready to submit to the trials, I think. But
It's not normal for an outlander here to be welcome in our safety, our home, our haven, our paradise of the Rubblemoot. But for you,
Yeah.
I'll make the exception.
yeah, nothing is normal about my being here either.
It's been what, four moots, and you have not shown what brings you here.
Information mostly, and a longing for home.
Information of what, may I ask? How may I help?
I need to speak to the wise woman, but I sense a growing darkness far to the north, amongst the ruins of Old Ostland. The strongholds seem to be more active than usual. This I have seen on my travels and more.
Yes, we have seen it in our travels as well.
I think
I would let you see the wise woman, but she is occupied at the moment. I'm afraid to interrupt her would be the most rude thing to do. I would suggest coming back in approximately a few hours, 2 hours at the most.
We will meet with the Sunkissed and maybe see the markets. But
And James, what are you going to say?
it's fine. No,
Okay, cool. And so, like, when he says that, to interrupt her is kind of the most rude thing to do, he kind of has, like, that, fear in his eyes of, like, you do not want to interrupt the wise woman. And you'd probably know this as well, Verhelion, where
Yep.
something important's going on where she has to be, by herself.
I introduce my companions and I say, this is Xerxes, a man of many martial talents.
Yeah, in Dakmakul, the Khan looks up at you. You're, again, a foot taller than him. Like, he's big for an ash elf.
Mm-hmm.
He looks like he's scarred from many battles. He's missing an eye. His eye has been, like, sewn shut.
Mm-hmm.
But he looks at you, staring at you with his one eye. Despite you being bigger, he's not, shaken at all by your stance. He kind of says, you look like you wield a sword well.
I've seen many battles in my day. It's second nature to me.
He kind of give you, I don't know, some kind of, he'd extend his arm up and say, may we wrestle in the near future.
I'd enjoy that, elf. It's just kind of like,
yeah.
As soon as like a Roman handshake or something, kind of.
I say kind of like just these muscles flex in his arm, the muscles flex in your arm, and you kind of.
And I kind of feel like this, like kind of us like sizing each other up a bit, kind of like squeezing each other with our like brawniness, just kind of matching each other's strength. But yeah.
And then he looks with his one eye to you, Red, noting the fact that you have no eyes. He kind of like looks, where should I look at her? How should I look at her? It's like, and you, blind one. I say your presence here is not the most normal. In fact, many here would have much, kind of like trying to figure out the word for it. Much disapproval for your being here. But if you're a friend of Verhelion here, you're welcome among these halls of mine.
I think I'd kind of speak up after he says that and say, trust me, I'm one of the last people to tolerate having a tiefling in our presence, but she's proven to be trustworthy.
He kind of looks, and this Khan would look at you, Red, and say, well, what's your specialty?
And she would look and she would say, I am no stranger to being unwelcome, so I do not offend at any of this, especially from those who would hide away from the problems that are going on in this land. And as for my specialty, I am simply a wanderer.
You must be a
Nothing
good wanderer for Verhelion to trust you so. Now tell me, Red. Tell me, Tiefling. He doesn't know your name. Tell me, Tiefling, what is it that you have done to make Varhelion trust you so. And he's kind of looking at Varhelion too for like some kind of confirmation that like, is she even useful at all? Like, why would she be in the company of this?
She is a tiefling. I butt in and say she is a tiefling of exceptional skill. This is Red, and she is of the highest morals. And then I lean in very close and I say, you may not know this, Ashkan, but the white skin means she has foregone the demon blood for long enough that she is pure of its corruption.
He kind of chuckles at you, saying, that she has the highest morals. It's like, tiefling with morals. No, that's a joke. I'll say it my next gathering. This is obviously a jab at you, Red. I don't know how you would respond to that.
I think at this point, Red has become used to this kind of jabbing, and she says, well, our kind doesn't hold you up in high esteem either, so I feel like we both see each other eye to eye, figuratively, as to say.
Well, the Ash Elf way, he'd say, is to remain out of the sight, out of the eyes, out of the ears of the others, of the other kinds. It's how we have done for the past many generations, and it's how we will continue to survive. And as the Khan of Clan Haren, I command of you to never speak of the location of this Rubblemoot, for to do so would be treason against me and all of my ancestors.
And Varhelion kind of mutters out of habit, ancestors guide us.
Sorry, what did he say? He accepts us or refutes our entry?
Basically, he trusts Varhelion's wisdom on the condition that you guys never speak of the Rubblemoot, because to do so would be the biggest betrayal ever.
Okay, I see. I would not speak of this place. It's rare to see such beauty in this land. I would do what I can to protect it.
And like a smile like creeps on his face when you say that, like the beauty. He's like nodding, like, yeah, like, I am very proud of what we have made for ourselves here. What Sewell has given for us here. He kind of gestures with open arms the scenery outside of this longhouse, of the children playing, of the laughter, of mothers and fathers, just having normal lives, of merchants, hollering like, hey, come get your trinkets here, buy your trinkets and guzmos and such. And just like this lack of brutality and lack of despair that exists in this little pocket of paradise. I am very proud.
I do not agree that you keep this place so hidden, but I will respect your wishes, as it is not for me to destroy that of other people's livelihood, but I would strongly urge you to see what is going on outside of your world and to maybe perhaps do something with the land that you have here.
We do see what goes on around for every day of the year, but this 1 week we have of paradise. We will not squander it. We will not waste this week we have of peace and freedom and of paradise. How dare you speak of us not caring about the world outside? You ignorant one.
And she would just kind of, her tail would kind of flit about very, almost aggressively, but she would remain silent and she would say, I did not mean to offend.
Offense not taken, he'd say.
Then
I think kind of worrying about maybe the rising tension, I think Xerxes would kind of speak up. It's been a long journey, and I'm in need of food. Maybe we should find some sustenance and come back when the wise one is ready.
Yes, there are many stalls selling meats and vegetables out and the fruits out in the marketplace. You can find whatever your heart desire.
we can easily find anything out there, and my word carries some favor. We will talk again later, Ashkan. I see you welcome a new new grandson into the world. You must be very proud.
Yes, she is.
Or granddaughter. I meant.
Yeah, she is quite the beauty. A rare thing in this world we live in, but one I will not squander. It is good to see you, Varhelion.
And you, Duck.
And may the sun shine upon you.
And may ancestors guide you.
He kind of nods and returns back to his kind of council that was happening around the fireplace. The other two ash elves were kind of eavesdrop. They were evidently they appeared like they're eavesdropping, but trying to not look like they're eavesdropping. But it wasn't very conspicuous or inconspicuous. They were, obviously, very interested in the conversation going on because Varhelion is such kind of a popular figure amongst these ash elves, and especially when he brings two outsiders, and they kind of return to talking in hushed tones. On the other side of the crackling fire, it's hard to make out what they say. And they take sips of their their horn goblets and such.
I think as we proceed to kind of exit the tent, Xerxes would kind of just look back and give a little nod of respect and then continue his way back to the outside to search for some food or maybe peruse the vendors and such.
And as you're wandering through the stalls, through the tents and stalls and homes, there's palm trees everywhere. They're scattered, and wherever there isn't a palm tree, there's something like some kind of tent or a stall or even like anything like this. They're making great use of the space around this oasis, where any kind of space that isn't used is wasted. And as you're walking through, you can just smell the meats and the fruits and just the foods and the perfumes as you make your way through the marketplace. Sorry.
And I think as we wander, Xerxes would really be reminded of how hungry he is, and just all these aromas. It's so new. It's not chopped up orc meat or scorpion meat or what he's used to eating, and he's kind of a little bit overwhelmed by it, and he doesn't really know what to go for.
Yeah. And a merchant kind of calls out, as he sees the three of you passing. Megan, what is this merchant selling?
This merchant, I think, would be selling some sort of woven mats. Woven mats made out of the husks of these special dried plants that you can only find in the southwestern and the north of Crifoth, very close to the wall. People would walk along and collect these husks and braid them into mats and sell them for outrageous prices because of their just the rarity, but also the intrigue that these plants may be from the other side of the wall.
Come get your woven mats here! He's flopping about. You can see these tapestries kind of hanging from these strings he has kind of laid out. He doesn't even have a stall or anything. It's just a bunch of, clothesline hanging from the palm tree to palm tree with these kind of mats and tapestries and rugs and even clothing made of this material hung over these clotheslines. He's like waving them out, like, come get your woven materials here. They're unique. Come, come, come. Spend your coin. Ah, you lovely woman of horned figure. Come get this shawl. It is beautiful against the color of your skin. He's holding out, this shawl made of this straw material.
And I don't even know that. I don't think. I think Red would look in his direction and.
Yes, you, lady. Yes.
And I walk over to the man and I say, Is that you, Gavril? Your father sold these mats too. I know they're not from beyond the wall. And can you not see she's blind?
And Red would pipe up. She's like, yes, I don't think I would have much use for something as what's the word for like something that's like flashy but like not important or needed, that's like extra
impractical,
frivolous.
Yeah.
For such frivolous garb.
Behold, he kind of knocks on with his fist. He's like, but sir, it holds against the sands of the storms out in the wastes.
That may be, but we're not exactly traveling in tents.
Come, it is a lovely material. Looks lovely. What did you do? No, don't mess up my gig here.
Yes, look, sell to other ash elves. She can't see.
Very well. He kind of gives you kind of a dirty look for running away his business, for running off his customers. And you hear him kind of yelling, "Oh, you lady!" to someone behind you. "Oh, you lady with the lovely yellow hair. You look lovely with one of these shawls made of the straw from beyond the wall." He kind of knocks on it and waves.
The same line, like, so well with your complexion.
Yeah. It's almost like it's been rehearsed at this point, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As you kind of continue walking to the stall. And you approach this hut. It's held up by these pillars of petrified wood and held together by cords and leaves. And there's just smoke billowing up the top and a large kind of bonfire inside of it. And you can see a bunch of ash elves sitting cross-legged on various mats and cushions and even standing, on one foot or something, and just chewing on some kind of meat. You see a spit. Several spits around this fire, tended to by ash elves, of course. They're kind of rotating it and hacking off pieces and throwing away carcasses into a pile. Where these wolves would come and kind of like pick at the scraps. They're tethered by leashes. You look hungry. You look very hungry, you three. Come get your lovely meat here. Nice, crisp, chewy meat.
And out of anything that's probably here, I think Xerxes would be most drawn to this. Like, it's kind of what he's used to, a big hunk of meat on like a spitfire roasting. So I think Xerxes would immediately just start walking towards, just like hand on his stomach.
And James, what kind of animal did this meat come from?
I imagine this. I could see like maybe like a boar or something on a stick. I could see like assortment of different animals. Maybe there's a boar on a stick. Maybe there's this kind of like a snake animal that's specialized for burrowing under sand, kind of like a ground snake. Maybe there's like another one of those scorpions, those giant scorpions on a spit. Just
mongoose
of different animals roasting.
Yeah, and actually, for the scorpion, you see it in this big basin of boiling water next to the fire, where it's being boiled rather than cooked on a spit. The cook here is asking, what would you like? Some boar, some scorpion, some snake? What will it be? He says. He's kind of like, takes his dull stone blade and kind of just strikes it with the whetstone to sharpen it.
I think Xerxes would point at the snake and be like, "Oh, never been able to catch one of those before."
Ah, good choice. You go in kind of taller, like, Devere, get me a chunk of the snake. And then the one at the snake, just with this big cleaver, cuts the snake and cuts out this 3-inch segment of this snake steak. He kind of just throws it over, kind of lobs it, and he catches it and hands it to you. It's just dripping with just the perfect amount of rareness and doneness. It has a little bit of juice dripping from it, the fats, but it's still wrapped around in the scales of the snake. And you kind of see him kind of just core it, almost with a little smaller knife. Cuts off the snake's skin, throws it off, and hands it to you. Holding it by the bone in the center.
And immediately Xerxes would reach out, grab it, and just start scarfing it, shoveling big mouthfuls in his face. And maybe a bit of the way through realize that he hasn't really given this man anything for it, and he just says something like, "Oh, what do you want for this?" Kind of with a big mouthful of snake, yeah.
What do you have to offer?
Xerxes would finish his mouthful of it, gulp, and kind of hold his hand out with a bunch of coins. "This is the currency of one of the gladiator pits. I've had no use for it, so I've been carrying it around for quite some time. Would you accept it?"
The man kind of looks at these ceramic coins. They've been kind of chiseled in the word malice in the figurehead and the flag or whatever it is of malice. Kind of says, "Yeah, this'll do," and takes 6 of them or something from you, and drops in this jar where everyone's been just putting whatever trinkets they're using to pay for stuff. And if something doesn't fit in a small jar, there's a big basket next to it, which actually has bigger things, such as I don't know, actual animals, or maybe kind of spear or daggers or something. Anything of value that's not big enough for this jar would fit in there.
And after paying him, Xerxes would just find a little patch of grass nearby and sit down and continue to devour this snake steak.
Snake steak. And how about Red?
Yeah, I think Red would probably go to the same vendor. All this time of them walking through the streets, she has been kind of looking very agitated. Her tail would just be flitting around. She would still be looking down, but she just looks extremely agitated. And so she would hear Xerxes, this whole conversation going on, and so she would go over to the same merchant and just give me something of whatever has the most sustenance.
This is for you, Tiefling. He kind of say in a much more gruffer tone than he did with Xerxes. You need to just grab some kind of charred piece of meat that's fallen off into the fire. Kind of just poke it with something and hold up this just piece of charcoal and kind of give it to you. Here, there's your meat. Now get off.
And she would kind of clench a little bit and put her hand into her pocket very slowly, into her pack.
Yeah.
And she would pause for a second, and as if she was letting go of the thing that she had, she would reach further into her pack and take out 3 or 4 gold pieces and just clink them into the jar and just nod her head and go in a random direction, because I don't think she knows where Xerxes is.
Yeah, and as you're holding this, it's still hot, this just piece of charcoal. He kind of just gives this gruff as he drops coins into the jar. The coins are basically meaningless.
Well,
They're-
yeah, but it's
they're
the
like
gold,
lowest-
right?
Yeah, the gold, sure, they're jewelry, but
Yeah.
the coins are like kind of the lowest currency thing you can give.
Hmm.
But kind of just gruffly, just whatever, gravels. Kind of just watches you leave. And
as I leave, would I hear any wild animal? Kind of like any like a dog type thing, or just roaming the streets.
so roaming the streets, yeah, sure. There'd be some. There's birds like gulls. These white feathered gulls kind of flying up ahead above the water. They're, swimming and wading in the oasis itself. There's, some kind of rodent-like creature that would scamper and scurry between the stalls, but the bigger dogs, the wolves, are tethered to this one leash right next to the fire pit. You don't see any others of that kind. But there's these
And
bunches
this
of
is the fire pit right beside the
Khan's house, yeah.
the
Khan's
Khan's house.
Yeah. Or so
Okay.
I guess it's in the marketplace next to the Khan's longhouse.
Is it far enough away from the butcher? Is it in his line of sight or no? Like the meat seller?
Is what? The dogs?
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of in the line of sight, but it's kind of just back around behind a bush or something. So
Yeah, so she would hear the dogs barking, and then she would kind of go over to them and break up the pieces and maybe put a little bit of water on them just to kind of soften them up a little bit, and try to just feed them to the dogs. And
yeah, and as you approach, you kind of hear them kind of growl as you approach.
yeah.
But
And
as
so-
soon as you kind of drop this moistened, charred meat, they kind of stop the growling, and they kind of just like come over and pounce and kind of fight over this few scraps of meat that you throw to the ground. Like there's about 3 of them, right? So kind of like paw at each other and kind of butt through each other. And 2 of them kind of have the meat in their same mouth or something, and kind of just rip it.
Yeah, and so I think at that point, when one of them sounds like he's or she is kind of done, I would attempt to approach the one, fist closed, just, sniff it and just whispering some calming words.
Yeah, and you give me an animal handling check.
Yeah.
These wolves have been trained basically to hunt down intruders.
Yeah.
So you don't smell anything like an ash off wood. So
I got a 13.
So this dog, it's a wolf. It's been placated by the food you've given. Kind of just sniffs your hand, gives it no heed, and kind of just wanders off to some other kind of rock or something and just pees on it. Just lifts his leg up and psst, paying almost no attention to you after sniffing your hand.
Yeah, and I would actually just at that try to walk past them, maybe finding a place that is less noisy. Just wander about away from the marketplace, and just sit down.
Yeah, and I imagine that the place that'd be the kind of the least noisy would be kind of this kind of glade next to the water's edge, surrounded by the bushes and palm trees, because the foliage can kind of block out the sound a little bit. And Urxes, you notice Red kind of just wander towards the water's edge as you're sitting on, some stool or some mat and chewing on this steak of yours. And what do you do?
I don't think Urxes would give much heed to what Red is doing. He's pretty content sitting there getting a good, tasty meal. He hasn't gone in a while. So I think he just figured out she's off doing her own thing and kind of just continue there, soaking up the view, taking massive bites out of this snake meat.
Yeah, and as you're sitting there, you see the Khan, Dakamakul, kind of emerge from his tent, look around, kind of sniff the air, his big barrel chest with battle scars and like these claw marks and such. These scars. Kind of emerge from his tent. He kind of his chest puffs out as he takes in this air. You see him kind of walking idly, and these ash elves stop whatever they're doing as he passes, and like stop talking, cautiously bow in reverence to him. And he goes up to the meat bonfire, and he sees you, Xerxes. He says, "You up for a good wrestle now?"
I think at that mention, a big grin would appear on Xerxes' face. He said, "Oh, you ready so soon? I thought you'd need to prepare yourself first."
And he kind of just like he's seeing your kind of like snide comments, like, "As a war con, I'm always prepared."
I like your attitude. Let's go then.
And he just walks off in a direction where you can, as you follow him, you see there's other wrestles going on. There's these rings of sand kind of drawn out with these small pebbles. There's people cheering. You see two scrawnier ash elves kind of just, locking their shoulders with each other, kind of shove each other out. Where like it looks like they're shoving back and forth. One steps their foot over this line and immediately kind of slumps to the ground, and people go woo or boo, right, as he stepped out of the line and has lost.
Mm-hmm.
And you see, as the con approaches, immediately the crowd turns to the con and kind of just cheers, woo! And then there's one of themselves, another fresh meat for the wrestling. Who doesn't know what he's up against? And like someone's like, "Oh, Dakma cool, make me some babies," or something. Some woman in the in the crowd. He's just
Give me your babies.
Give me your babies. And he kind of just gestures like, "All right, this rings for us." He kind of stands in the sand. He kind of just shoves his bare feet. He's kind of kicked off the sandals before entering.
What does this ring look like? Is it like a wrestling ring, or
yeah, just like imagine a sumo ring.
Style? Okay, like a
circle,
circular.
A circle just drawn out with these pebbles.
Oh, just in sand. Okay.
Yeah, he kind of kicks off his sandals. He's basically bare chest at this point, just like with a loincloth at this point.
Mm-hmm. Before
and he kind of just buries his feet in the sand, kind of in wide stance. He's like kind of clapping his chest, like doing some breathing. "All right, you ready?"
Mm-hmm. Xerxes would give a little nod, then proceed to take his kind of belt sheath off, kind of put it down to the ground with his weapons, put his backpack down, kind of crack his knuckles, step into the ring in like a low stance, and he would say, "I know you're respected in this town. Don't expect me to go easy on you, old man."
You know how to do this, right? First one over the line loses. He kind of like looks at the ring around you guys. He's like, and he kind of walks towards the center, and you see this kind of some plants have been kind of placed in the center to denote where the center of the ring is. He stands on his side of it, kind of just holding out his arms. "Ready when you are."
All right, I'm ready.
And I imagine you kind of go up as well.
Mm-hmm.
And immediately as you kind of put out your hands, an ash elf from outside the ring just does this big horn, just like, boot, and immediately this con just gives you a big shove as soon as that horn is called. And so we're going to make an opposed
thanks for
athletics
stopping
check
in.
here.
Okay. Athletics. Oh, damn. Okay. So 21.
All right. He gives you this big shove, but you're able to just lock arms with him. You put your weight into it, and he doesn't budge you any further. What are you going to do? You lock arm with him at the point.
I imagine at first Xerxes was ready, but it was so sudden after the horn that he kind of pushes him back a little bit. Then Xerxes digs his feet into the sand and regains his balance and a low athletic stance. Then I think immediately Xerxes would try to like shift his weight a bit to one side and try to like step forward to put his leg out and try to like throw him over his hip.
Awesome. All right, another athletics check then.
Hello.
21 again.
What did you get?
21.
Yeah, and you're able to put him off balance. He kind of stumbles, but he's able to maintain his stance. And he goes, as we're kind of like leaning off to the side, he swings out his leg in a wide arc, trying to trip you to the ground. Get an athletics check from you, please.
Oops. That time I got a 11.
Yeah, and he just the swing of his foot knocks you off your balance, and you are knocked prone. Bam. What do you like to do?
How big is this circle? Like,
it's about a 10-foot circle, and so I'm kind of keeping
that's
track.
pretty big.
I am
Okay.
keeping track of everyone, like who's winning right now, and so you were kind of winning before you fell on your ass here.
Yeah. Am I on my butt or on my stomach?
On your butt. You tripped
Okay.
your legs out from under you.
I think immediately after I'm on my butt, I'd swing my leg around and try to like attempt to like sweep his legs, and after I finish sweeping, like put my foot down and try to stand up. After
Yeah,
the
awesome.
sweeping motion.
So, because you're prone, I would say you have disadvantage on this one.
Disadvantage. Yeah. Athletics.
Yeah.
Do I roll my proficiency dice twice every time I roll my d20? It's okay.
If you're proficient in it, yeah, you should be rolling your d4. Yeah.
So it's either.
So what did you get?
Oh, 15.
Yeah, and so you're on your butt, and you're just in some kind of jarring pain as you realize the sand isn't very thick. Like there's a bunch of rock and rubble underneath this. You kind of like hit your left butt or something, kind of a little hard. And so you try to do this trip, and he just steps out of the way. And then he comes up and tries to grab you by like your arm and your shoulder, and he gives you a big swing as if to throw you a few feet. So another athletics check here.
15.
And so he isn't able to shove you at all. Like you're able to actually, when he grabbed your arm, you're able to grab his arm as well.
I'm still on the ground?
Yeah. And now you will have advantage on your check if you want to bring him to the ground with you, as you have him clasped.
Is he kind of like behind me, or is he like?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And I'm gonna try to like grab his arm and just like toss him like over me.
So now you have advantage.
Oh damn, that's probably all I need. 25.
Yeah, you knock him. You pull him off his feet, kind of onto the ground, onto his back. You kind of hear as he hits the ground, and he is also prone. And so he kind of tries to roll out and kind of pry his arm out from yours. Let me give me athletics here. Basically, every time we do something, it's an athletics check.
Yeah. Oh. Nat 1 on both my proficiency and d20.
Oh, nice. So he's able to get himself free of your grasp, and he kind of stands up. Back where we started. Now he's noticed he kind of has swung around to the other side. So now that you're closer to the edge than he is right now. What are you gonna do?
So I'm kind of still on the ground. He's like in front of me now, standing up.
Yeah.
I think at that Xerxes would kind of do like what like a kick up is?
Yeah.
Like he swings back and like boosts himself up onto his feet and kind of get like a rah, like at the crowd, trying to like amp them up.
Yeah, awesome. Give me an acrobatics.
Performance. Can I do performance?
Sure, totally. Performance.
So that's a 23.
Yeah, and as you do that, you do a kick off, and you kind of propel yourself with your hands, land on your feet. Kind of the dust kind of comes up in a little cloud, and you hear the elves around you going, "Woo!" clapping, and just like they're very, very inspired by you.
And at this point, I know I'm closer to the edge of the circle, so by doing this little like performance boasting, I'm trying to like taunt him essentially into attacking me.
And he does so. He just comes in for a nice, shoulder tackle shove to push you closer to the edge of the line.
And when he comes in, I want to try to like sidestep out of the way.
Yeah, awesome. So I will get you to do an acrobatics versus his athletics. Basically, a dexterity check versus his.
Acrobatics.
athletics here.
Do I have? So that's a 16 for acrobatics.
You aren't able to step out of the way in time. He sees your movement and he kind of just turns directions, and he just knocks you another like 3 feet towards the edge of the line. And as you kind of stagger back, you feel your heel touch the edge of the stone. You haven't quite gone over yet, but your back foot is almost there. What are you going to do?
I think I'm gonna, at this point, I know I'm close to the line. I'm just gonna go in and kind of like charge him and try to give him like a little like elbow to the gut.
Yeah.
And what I want to do is I actually want to use a menacing strike on this one.
Okay. And what does menacing strike do?
It's
Just
if your attack hits, you spend 1 superiority die. Like technically add that to the damage roll, and if it's successful, the creature's feared until your next round.
Yeah. So you come in, and I imagine you just like scream some
I'm just,
kind of
like, charging
bloody
at
murder,
this,
like you just come in raging.
Yeah.
And he like almost staggers back here. So give me your athletics check, and add your superiority die to the
roll.
Check.
Okay. So that's a D8. Oh, this should be pretty good. Ooh. Down 26. That's like it's like 28.
Okay. So you recover some ground as you come charging in. You see him kind of like brace himself, pushing his heels into the sand. But as you scream, he kind of falters. He's like, whoa, normally wrestling is a pretty quiet sport.
Yeah.
Just come in, just
Not
like,
for me, I don't know.
no, you just scream, yelling. And you're able to knock him back like 2 feet. As you just push him, you lock chest with him, and his feet just like skid against the sand, 1.5 feet backwards. Mm-hmm. Now you've recovered a lot of ground. You're about 2 feet away from the edge now. He's still got a lot of space behind him, but.
And I think after I kind of like push him while, I'm just gonna try to like a little shove to like disengage a bit. Yeah.
So as you shove him back, he comes in for a lower blow to your chest. Give me athletics.
Ooh, crit.
All right.
24, 27.
So I imagine that as he comes from the low blow, you're able to actually sidestep around and push him towards the edge of the circle. Mm-hmm. He kind of like, falters, and he kind of, tips over the line with his torso, but his feet are behind it, and he's able to get his balance. But his back is to you. What are you going to do?
And at that, I see the opening. So what I'm going to try to do, not in an attacking way, I'm kind of going to like spin around, like, like a spinning like back kick, like a side kick, and just like put my foot on his ass and just try to like push him out, kind of.
Yeah, awesome. Give me advantage on your athletics.
So it's pretty good. I'm getting 20. Yeah, 24.
And you do so. You give him a shove with your foot, and he falls over. His torso falling over the line, his hands kind of clattering against the grass, his face kind of, and the crowd goes wild here. Woo, woo, and like the trumpet goes boo, boo, and immediately the person holding the trumpet walks up to you, kind of like grabs your arm, kind of holds it up high, but you're taller than him, so he doesn't really, can't really do that well. Your arm's still, kind of at a 90-degree angle. It's like, we have a winner. The outsider, the mountain of meat, defeated Khan Doc McCall. And there's just like silence. And then like, woo, one person. And immediately kind of catches on, like, yay, and applause. And immediately
a bunch of he's like holding my arm up like this. Xerxes takes the opportunity to kind of raise the other arm at the same and just give it like a big like flex kind of thing.
Yeah, I think as you do that, the one person in the crowd's like, yay! Yeah. And, there's an ash elf, with taking, coins and trinkets from people. He's probably the betting person, right? And it was like probably 10-1 against you or something. He's like, crowd's going wild because, the few people that bet your victory, they got their money. And there's a few more elves coming over and helping the Khan up, kind of dusting him off.
Yeah.
And,
I think pretty much immediately after I do that little like raw of excitement, I'd go over to the Elder Khan, kind of extend my hand as we once shook before, and say,
Yeah. He grips it. He's like,
"You are
"Good
a worthy
muscle.
opponent." Yeah.
I would be proud to have you alongside me in battle. He kind of claps you on the shoulder or something, and he says, "May the sun shine upon you."
And Xerxes would kind of nod and say, "I'm always looking for a fight, so anytime, just ask."
Well, I'll be sure to direct you at, the opponents rather than myself, but thank you. And what is Varhelion? Ryan, are you back? Oh, is Ryan still MIA?
Doing his bird stuff.
Okay. Red, you've heard the commotion from behind you. I think this has probably caught your attention, but you can't really watch it happen.
No.
You can hear the grunts of people. You hear Xerxes' grunts. You hear the crowd kind of cheering, woo, or when like, oh, the gasps, and then finally the one cheer in the crowd as the game ended and the trumpet, blaring. What has been going through your mind though as you've been sitting at the water's edge? Imagine like your feet are maybe even in it or something.
I think at this point I would try to be meditating because I can feel my anger flaring up towards these ash elves, towards this whole thing. I don't like being down here. I just want to get out, and I just can't understand why they would have this and not either just live here or help other people who need to come down here, because obviously this space is big enough for many people. And I'm trying to clear my mind. I'm trying to, because I didn't, when the meat market person gave me the shard, and I initially reached for my hand axe, but Elder Basha, his voice was in the back of my head, telling me to stay calm, to compose myself, and that I am just feeding their fear and feeding their stereotype and their prejudice by reacting how they think I should react. And so that's why instead I reached for the only valuable thing that I can spare, which is those gold pieces. And my stomach still rumbles, but I don't want to take any food from them because that did not go well. So yeah, right now I'm just trying to calm my mind, just, happy that Xerxes won, but not really thinking about that.
Your stomach rumbles in its hunger, and it's kind of louder than normal, but it happens. And you hear a pitter-patter of feet in the grass, kind of hear the shuffling of grass around this water. And you hear a small, timid voice. Excuse me, miss? You sound hungry. And you hear the cracking of bread. And you kind of just smell the freshly baked bread as it wafts over your nose. Here you go.
And I would reach in the direction of the voice to grab whatever he's...
As you reach out, you feel these small hands in yours. They're smooth. They've not seen the hardships of the outside world. They have not been scarred and pitted and scabbed and calloused. They're soft and baby hands.
Mm-hmm.
You feel the warm loaf of bread in this child's hands. It's
And
warm to touch. Yeah.
I would nod in thanks and then say, "What is your name, child?"
And she go, kind of stuttering. And you hear off in the distance, by a harsher voice, "Asir, get get over here. Stay away from those outsiders. And she kind of say, my name's Azir. And then she'd turn off and run back to whoever called her.
Yeah, right before she would turn away, I'd want to just quickly, give her a nod and just say, may something along the lines of, may your life not, maybe in Infernal even is something along the lines of, may your life not be filled with the heartache that those before you have had to endure. Kind of like a wish of the next generation to make things better and to have an easier life. There's a saying for it in Infernal, and that's what I would say to her.
Yeah, and you just speak these guttural words, and just kind of no response to it from her that you can hear as she kind of like walks off, rustling the grass. Kind of hear the splash, splash, splash of water as she kind of runs along the little edge, hops into her father's arms. And Xerxes, as you are triumphant in your wrestling match, you feel the tug of many hands kind of on your skin as the bunch of, ash elf ladies are, ushering you off into a tent off, a few yards away. They're all, giving you, googly eyes and such in your prowess. And we're going to take a 10-minute break here as we fade to black for Xerxes.
Cool.
Whatever he
Sounds
chooses
good.
to do.
But,
And hopefully Ryan can get his setup fixed. So yeah,
cool.
10 minutes.
Sounds good. What's he doing? He's just...
Apparently, well, he just had some visitors come in, and then when he came back, apparently he's not working for him. So, yeah.
Okay, cool. 10 minutes. Sounds good.
Hello? You working now? Hello? Hi, Mama.
This is something you kept forgetting at Grandpa's.
Thank you. Well, I couldn't find it.
Oh, well, Grandpa was supposed to tell you it was clipped to the fridge.
Well,
but
he
he
didn't.
forgot. Anyway, so
Hello? Ryan, are you talking? I am back. And if Ryan, if you're talking, I cannot hear you.
Hello.
Yes, hello, I hear you.
Look what I found.
Good.
You found it. So Ryan,
To,
how
to
much
drop
of
out
the
and drop
session,
back in.
how much of the session did you miss, Ryan? At what point in time did you come back in?
Just Xerxes was winning his wrestling.
Okay, so what had happened was Xerxes and Red headed out to the meat shack, got some meat. Xerxes got a nice fine cut of snake meat. Red, however, was given this charred piece of scraps that was at the base of the fire, because of prejudice. And kind of just told, get off my lawn kind of thing. Then Xerxes goes out and is approached by the Khan after he's finished his council. And they have a wrestling match. And through, in this very tense, high-action moment, Xerxes is actually able to win this wrestling match. And so he got cheered on and got led to the den of seduction or whatever. That's where we left off. Oh, and I have a present. I have a cat.
Small cat.
He's very small, but he's bigger than he was a week ago.
Growing.
Ryan, are you with someone right now?
Mom's just in here, so I'm not worried.
Okay, that's not bad.
hi, Connor.
Mom says hello.
I heard that. Hello. All right.
This
Um,
nice in here. Who set it up like this?
Karen Raven.
You did a good job
Yeah, she's also planning on painting the sides of the center too.
with birds on them. Oh, that's a good idea. Is she employed by that? No.
But she gets like paid.
So James, how are you liking the session so far?
Yeah, it's great. Loving it.
Yeah.
That's really
Is it a
cool.
nice change of pace?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's been great so far.
And then the
Now the
green
wrestling match is exciting.
Yeah. That's something I kind of just thought of on the spot. I'm like, it'd be cool is if
Yeah.
the con was to test your mettle
Yeah,
with,
no, it was
wrestling.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. It's kind of Xyz's thing, though. I have like good strength and proficiency in athletics, so it's like
Yeah, and like showmanship
right
too.
up my alley. Yeah.
Wrestling showmanship.
hmm Or just like in any arena.
Yeah. How are you guys doing for time?
I probably got another like at probably like 3:45. I should probably head out my time. So like another
Another 2 hours? A little
2
under 2
hours.
hours? Okay.
Yeah.
How about you, Ryan? How much time do you have left to play?
Which one do you like?
I mean, as long as I don't get interrupted, I'm fine until
Okay, cool.
5.
Cool. So yeah, we'll basically another 2 hours. I can
One, two, three, four.
see it easily happening here.
Oh, sweet.
Cool.
I just have to do a transaction for Mama, so I will be right back.
No worries.
I have to get mine.
Okay, no, I don't.
Oh, and this is it's a fridge magnet. You don't have this as a sticker.
I could make one. Yeah, I could make one using the data. Okay. Yeah, don't turn it.
Okay, well then I'm gonna bring the other cards around to the front. Oh,
Yeah, because you emptied it.
these are all slightly different here. This one's this one.
Boop boop.
All right, Ryan, are you good to go?
Yep.
Cool. So we come back in after fading to black as Xyz entered the den of sins with his concubines and people who are very much big fans of him after his wrestling match. Red chews on her crusty bread, still warm, freshly baked, given to her by just a young Ash Elven child out of compassion. Varhelion, what are you doing now after watching the wrestling match between Khan Dak Makul and your companion Xyz?
Duck McCool. His name sounds like Duck McCool.
It does. That shall be his
Like a
nickname.
McDonald's mascot or something.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of nod to myself, kind of having foreseen the outcome, and then I would like to kind of go off in search of some of the high alcohol content ash yam liquor for my reagents.
Yeah, and that's a very popular beverage. Like a yam vodka.
Yeah.
This ash yam substance that they brew up. And in your search, you stumble back into Red, who has wandered her way back to, maybe, I don't know, to do something. Oh, actually, Red, or Megan, why did Red leave her little alcove and bump into Varhelion?
A family, a couple of families actually, were coming down to the water's edge to just partake in maybe some swimming, some just outdoor activities. And as the children ran screaming into the water, but as soon as they saw that my feet were in the water, the mom screamed at them to get out of the water and scoop them up, and was, she thought it was in whispers, but
Hello again.
Red, hearing a little bit better than most people, would hear that she was talking about how the water was now contaminated because
her taint. Yeah. The tiefling taint.
And so Red would just figure this was about time to move on, because the lady was talking about getting the not authorities, but the whoever is in charge of keeping the peace in this place, and she would be talking about to the male there going to get them, and Red figured this was a pretty good time to move on and to go and find her comrades.
Yeah. And as you kind of climb up the hill, you bump into Varhelion, who's making his way past the crowd, kind of just like, shoving them away with his staff or something. And they kind of bow out of the way as he wanders through, recognizing who he is.
Yeah, and as she literally probably runs into him, she would recognize, his voice, scent, whatever, and say, how much longer do we have to stay down here? Silence. Even he's ignoring me now.
Yeah. He doesn't want to speak to tieflings.
Nope.
Has to keep face.
How long do you think it's been since we talked to the Eldercon in the tent? Because he said the wise one or whatever would be ready in a few hours or something.
It's maybe been no more than an hour.
Okay.
Also, James, feel free to hop out of your tent whenever you want to.
Yeah.
And join the rest of us.
Okay. Yeah. Or he's gonna enjoy himself for a little longer. Yeah.
And I will figure out what's. So yeah, you bump into Varhelion. And he's going to say, I don't want to be in this place anymore. You realize that this is not Varhelion. It's just another aged elf, hunched over on a staff, just like him. He's like, "What? Who are you? Get off!" And kind of swats you away with his hand.
And she would just, my apologies, and just kind of dip her head and continue walking down the road by herself.
Yeah. And as you walk, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, hoping to maybe find her way back to the marketplace, but I think at this time there isn't as much of an uproar in the marketplace. I don't know what time of day it is. I feel like it's probably mid-afternoon.
Yeah, and as you kind of
evening-ish, late afternoon.
You're trying to get a sense of the time. And in fact, you cannot.
Oh.
As there's no way to tell what time it is. Even if you were to have eyes. The sun would be just stuck in some kind of spot. And you'd think that, maybe it had moved in an hour, but it has not moved.
Right, so...
Maybe the warmth, you can still feel the warmth of the sun. It hasn't moved an inch from the top of your head.
Yeah, and so at that point, I think that maybe people would have moved on from the marketplace. There's maybe more people. I don't think that Red would be able to locate the marketplace very easily, so I would think that she would be lost. And can I roll of like for how lost she is in relation to the marketplace?
Totally, yeah.
Okay. Like a D20?
Sure.
Oop. Just kidding. A 3.
So you find yourself back at the water's edge again.
Yeah.
Basically, you kind of got lost. You've no idea where you were, so you kind of just tried to backtrack. You're back at the oasis. You can hear the gulls kind of circling up ahead, going quack, 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 or something. And the splish splash of children playing, and sounds of even like frogs croaking.
Yeah, I think that Red would actually start to panic a little bit. She's not able to find her companions. She's in a place that she's not familiar with. It's kind of funny, but she would feel more comfortable being stranded in the middle of the desert than being in this place right now. And I think for the first time in a long time, she would start cursing the fact that she is blind and just have a little bit of a mini meltdown on this water edge. And
Yeah,
just start cursing in Infernal.
Yeah, and you hear the voices of the families and such around you just immediately stop. As they stop talking and just kind of stare at you in silence, keeping their distance from you as you kind of swear. And imagine like maybe even like flames or something. Some kind of effect would happen when you're cursing under your breath.
Yeah, I feel like there'd be like little like maybe off the tip of my tail.
And literal smoke coming into your ears.
Yeah, literal smoke coming out of my ears. At this point, I don't even care about being calm, about being, as respectful as I can be, because I've been restraining myself she's been restraining herself so much. And she would just be standing there looking like a crazy person, just swearing and muttering to herself and just pacing around the lake or the water's edge.
Oh, it looks scary. Just like a tiefling, like kind of fuming, literally, and, like cursing infernal,
And imagine you get approached by the same 2 guards who met you earlier. Oh, you there? You've been causing quite a commotion. You kind of feel a poke in your side. A very gentle poke, but a poke nonetheless from the spear tip.
And she would say, me, I'm causing it. What about them? And then she would she's meaning to point in the direction of the people, but they're silent right now, so she's probably like pointing at a frog or something.
Yeah, you just point your gesture at the open lake.
Yeah, and she would say, you elves, you've been causing nothing but trouble, you and your arrogance. And then she would just go off in between common and infernal, just spewing profanities and then
the one guard asks the other, well, what are we supposed to do with her? We haven't had a ruckus like this in many Rubblemoots. Well, you see, we're going to have to take her behind one of the con's tents and tie her up with something. Can't have this kind of ruckus out in the open. And you kind of feel both of your arms like being grabbed with a firm grip.
Yeah, can I make I want to make like a resist strength.
Yeah, just give me a strength check.
Yeah, just to be able to get out of their grip. Sorry, strength?
Yeah, strength.
Got a 9.
Yeah, and so you're not able to break free. They're, when you try and break free, you realize that they have two hands, and there's a second hand, kind of just firmly grabbing you by maybe
Well,
the
I'm sure
cuff of
these
your
are
back
two
or
pretty
something.
big guys, right? And they're
Yeah.
both holding me with both hands on my arms. I'm not a very big person.
No.
So I would just start, like kicking my feet and just causing, like, I'm like a child right now. And I would just start like kicking my feet and screaming at them and cursing them. It's like, let go of me, you dirty elves. And just, I'm sure there's probably a very derogatory term for them used among the tieflings. I'm so bad with coming up with names.
Yeah. And so to the tieflings, especially your tieflings, the ash elves have remained like elusive. As your times a rat catcher, like the ash elves, they hide. All they do is hide and they scurry about. And so maybe they'd be like squirrels or something. Kind of also like as double entendre with them kind of living in trees. Even though there's no trees.
Yeah, like, I think, so in German, Schweinhund, which just basically translates into pig dog, is actually a really bad insult to call someone. So I think I would do exactly the same thing and just call them like squirrel mouse, something like that in Infernal, and just this very offensive name. And I would just keep repeating it and just, say.
Yeah, and you feel their grip tighten, as you insult them in such a way. And you can just feel them dragging you across the rocks and the grasses and the plants and up onto the more paved and kind of weathered areas, and they kind of drag you someplace. And their grip is firm. Imagine like you try and squirm and get out, but they held fast. And you realize they've also wrapped a rope around your arms at some point during the struggle.
Can I at least try to like burn them a little bit? Just like try to singe them.
The
like,
ropes?
Poke them with my tail? No, the guards.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just give me a straight up attack roll then.
Yeah. I don't want to do like much damage. Just enough to be an annoying little shit.
Yeah.
Oh, at 20.
Woo! And so you strike one of them like right in the eye, I imagine. You go, ah! And he kind of like lets go of you and kind of covers his face with his eye. And like, that bitch.
So when he lets go of me, I actually want to take my hand axe out from behind me and try to hit the hands of the other guard, if possible.
Like with the blade?
Yeah.
Okay. Give me an attack roll then.
Or no, not with the blade. I would want to turn it so that it's the blunt end.
Okay.
To try and just like bludgeon his hand.
Yeah.
Not to slice it, just to break it. So an attack, that's at 21.
Yeah, so you totally strike this man's hand with your free hand, and he kind of breaks away his grip as well.
Yeah, and then at that,
that hurt.
I would just book it.
Yeah, and you run. And I'd like a dexterity save from you, please.
Yeah,
as you're
probably
kind
at
of running
disadvantage.
Yeah, totally at disadvantage.
Because I'm blind.
You are blind.
Wow. I don't know if this dice is weighted really well. I got a 19.
And as in your blind sprint, you jump, you kind of run off of the edge of kind of like this, this platformed area, and you kind of tumble. You're able to land successfully, like on your feet and hands. You didn't land on your back or anything. You fell maybe like 4 feet down. You're back in the foliage of the water's edge.
God damn it!
This oasis is just run away from them. He ran away, and so Urx maybe would hear this commotion.
Yeah, I imagine Xyz would probably hear Red yelling and recognize her voice, and kind of just take a step out of the tent. Hair kind of ruffled, probably wearing nothing but a little tunic over his waist. That's not what a tunic is, but you know what I'm talking about. And kind of just like look over and peer and look in the direction that he heard Red's voice.
Yeah, and you see this, this ash elf guard kind of like clutching his face, like, that bitch, she ran off. And the other one's, like nursing a wound on his wrist. He's like having dropped his spear. And he's kind of looking around, looking for reinforcements, basically.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, go ahead.
I think, oh, it sounds like Ryan's back. Xyz would probably just mumble like, "Oh, what has she done?" And sensing that there might be conflict, reluctantly he'd reach into the tent, grab his sheath belt, like clip it on quickly, and kind of like run over in the direction to try and see what all the kerfuffle's about.
Just tip his fedora, m'ladies.
I'll be back.
That's fedorable.
Yeah, you see Red, in the bushes down this ledge near the oasis's edge.
Do the guards look like they know where she went, or is it
Totally? Yeah, but they're injured. They don't want to give chase because she's a pain in the butt, basically.
I'd probably stop in front of the guards, just say, "What happened here?"
She was causing a commotion. The one ash elf would speak up. And she hurt my hand, the other one would say. We tried to get her, but she ran away.
I see. You'll have to excuse our companion. She's not really used to this type of scenery.
Yeah, you tell her to behave. Next time she acts up, she's not getting any mercy. Give you one warning here.
That's fair. I'll keep my eye on her. And then I'd probably turn towards Red and like kind of like slide down the like little where she went down, like stand beside her, and just kind of like be like pissed at her, like, "What the hell do you think you're doing? We're here to gather information. This isn't how to do it."
And she would just look at you and just be like, well, that's easy for you to say, Mr. Everyone. Something. She's just like stuttering over her words. She's so angry. She doesn't know what to say. And she was like, you didn't see how they treated me. You didn't see that. I used to command people. I used to be one of the best, and they're treating me like less than dogs.
Xyz would like butt in there. Commanding what? Commanding other tieflings, demons, fiends? You think you're better than us for that? If anything, you're worse.
You don't understand. You can't say anything because you don't understand what it's like for tieflings there. You think you know everything. You think we're all evil. But some of us are treated just as bad as the prisoners. And she would just... She said, these elves, they boast about how, they live down here, they play their stupid games, they fight for fun. And then little like flame spurts erupt from her tail. And
I imagine this is when Varhelion steps out of like the Ash Yam brewery vendor that he had kind of slipped into for the past 15 minutes or such. He kind of comes out with these bottles in his hands, just seeing this crowd gather around this tiefling, and Xyz, they're having some kind of argument. The guards are nursing their wounds, kind of like off from a distance, because they're not really trained to handle ruckus, because there's never been really a ruckus at the Rubblemoot, besides drunken brawls, which are pretty easy to handle. And so just like with that community scene where Troy steps out with the pizza and everything's on fire. What does Verhelion? How does Verhelion react?
He kind of sighs and says, "We have grown soft. Our people were not always like this, but since Sul, we live our lives isolated in the desert. Come, this evening I will tell a tale of how we came to be here, and of Sul the Sun-Kissed, as much as I remember. The wise woman will tell her tale, and so will the current Sun-Kissed. We will teach you, for you seem to forget our origins. You, Red, I hear you muttering about this paradise. This is only a paradise for a week each year. If we were to live here forever, it would be gone in a matter of moons. This is not the place for you to judge. These elves have found their solitude. They have found their safety. Yes, it may be that outlanders could benefit here too, but if too many came, we would lose it all again, as we once lost our old homeland. As we lost our connection to everything that made us us. I have lost much, much more than you, much more than anyone here. But I know that we may move towards a better future. Sure, it might seem like these elves are soft, and they are. They're young. They don't have the span of years that I do, their wise women do. Sometimes they forget who they are and what it means to be an ash elf. But at its core, it is a story of loss. Now, go about your business. This is unlike the Rubblemoot. It is meant to be a time of peace and prosperity. And with that, Verhelion kind of waves his arms and says, and then goes over to tend to the guards and says, "You will speak to Dak Makul. He will see that your wounds are tended to. And I'll also kind of just tend to them. But this is just a wound to your pride. It is nothing else. You will not go spreading rumors that this tiefling woman is anything other than my guest."
Yes, Verhelion, sir. The guy with the burnt eyeball says, as he kind of like gathers his stuff and kind of runs off with his partner guard to the tent of the Khan, Dak Makul.
And at
After
this
that,
point, oh, sorry, go ahead.
after that speech, Xerxes would kind of little grunt in agreement. He's right. Now's not the time or place to hash this out. I'll meet both of you outside Doc McGool's tent in about an hour. And then hopefully we can see the wise one then. And then he just kind of like slowly scales up the cliff or that little like bank a bit to the top side and wanders back off to the tent where he came.
And Red would just stand there like a scolded child who just had a tantrum and was put in her place by a parent, not really knowing what to do or what to say next. The anger and the frustration still burning, but right now she doesn't know where to place it or how to let it out. And so she would just stand there and just breathing and kind of flaring her nose and flitting her tail around.
Come, we will go and see Tharana, have some stew, some simple lunch I have yet to eat. But first we will gather water. And with that, he kind of gestures over to a pile of just kind of ceramic urns and ewers, just there for everyone's use, and goes down and bends his old creaking back to fill this ceramic ewer with patterns of scorpions on the outside with water.
Yeah, and this oasis water, it's clean, it's pure. It's completely potable right from the source itself. There's no need for boiling or such. It's just amazing water compared to what exists out in other parts of Crifoth. You just fill up this ewer, and maybe even you fill up your personal water skins as well. And Xerxes, on your way back to the tent, something catches your eye in one of the palm trees overhanging the oasis. You see a single scarbird kind of just like flitting its head around, looks at you with its one eye, kind of hops around, jostles back and forth, and then flies off. As you make your way to the tent of the Khan. And we're gonna flash forward, I guess, the hour. Whatever you do in your hour, you drink, you
probably go
rest.
back, like put my clothes back on, like
Yeah.
tidy up
Your
the
clothes back on.
Yeah.
And you're waiting outside the tent of the Khan, and the Khan does come out and say, "Yes, the wise woman is ready to see you three now. Come." Kind of ushers you beyond these bead curtains. And he leads you into this tent, his big long house tent, off into the side corridor down. I mean, makeshift corridors when they're, tent rooms. They're all the walls are just actual, curtains made of beads or fabrics or something, or, woven straws and such. And he opens up this smaller room where this ash elf, wrinkled, her eyes bleached white, her hair adorned with various bones and trinkets and beads braided, her gray hair braided on her head. She sits on, these cushions. She looks like she's in a trance of some kind. This room is dark. There's fetishes hanging from the ceiling, incense kind of burning all around. You can smell just the odors and aromas in this room. And Doc McCool kind of ushers you to sit in the seats. But he does not join you. He kind of closes the curtain behind you, you three. And the wise woman just continues to sit there, not reacting at all to you three even approaching. There's just kind of crickets and silence.
At this point, Red would... Are there pillows around?
Yeah, lots
in
of
front of
cushions.
her,
Yeah.
I would imagine, like in a semicircle, or
Yeah.
Any previous aggression or tension seen in Red's body has gone, and she has taken on this poker face of showing no emotion, not even moving not twitching any muscle. Even her tail is still, and she would stand in the same stance. She is familiar with this when talking with Elder Basha, is that he would sit like this, and you did not make a move until invited to. You did not say anything until spoken to. And so she would assume the same position she did when approaching Elder Basha, which
Yeah, it is.
would just to be to, place her hands reverently down at her front and just kind of bow her head in respect.
And how about the two of you, James and Ryan?
Xerxes would definitely recognize what Red's doing in her approach here, but instead, I think Xerxes would look at Varhelion to kind of see how he acts, and kind of waiting for him to follow his moves, as he doesn't know the customs, of these people.
He gestures for you to sit, and he kind of walks around the semicircle and says, "Moon and stars, mother. and then offers her his water skin.
She takes a deep breath in. Ah, Varhelion. It has been many moons since I have last seen you. Sit, sit. She kind of is snapped out of her trance and kind of, moves around her cushion. Oh, she kind of like cracks her back. She's like cracking every single joint she could in her body while sitting. Like her fingers. Right, her big, bony, gnarly fingers. Some of them are kind of bent and crooked. Oh. Sit, sit, sit. What brings you here, Varhelion?
We seek information.
Of course you do.
Many things, but particularly the growing darkness in the strongholds to the north.
I sense it as well. But first tell me, who are these two with you? She gestures blindly, but accurately at the two of you with her hand.
These outlanders are my traveling companions. I don't typically carry on with that sort of thing, but mysteriously we all awoke in the same cave, fighting some sort of fiend. And since then we have traveled together, first to where, remarkably, my old companion, Basha, lived, who apparently these two knew. And so if Basha trusted them, I have some measure of trust for them myself. They have traveled with me and shown themselves to be people of good character and great skill.
and what of Basha? Is he well?
Sadly, he has passed on to the other world.
Oh, may his spirit glide effortlessly. She kind of takes a deep breath in. Yes. My bones, my body, the creak of old age. Do you not feel it too, Varhelion?
I feel it with every breath I take and every step. But I must continue for the benefit of our people.
And so what, what, Varhelion, really brought you here?
I seek information about this page. And with that, he kind of goes into, and even though he might even hand it to her to run her fingers over, trace the ink.
And as soon as you kind of hold it out, she goes, she kind of like shields her lack of eyes with her hands. That page, I recognize it. There are more of its kind. Where did you find such a thing?
In Basha's keeping. In one of his journals.
Well, good of him to protect such a thing. Come, we must put it with the others. She kind of tries to stand up, but she can't. Her legs are atrophied to the point where she cannot stand. They're small and toothpick-like. You can see the bone kind of protruding, pressed against the skin. Barely any muscle.
Varhelion rises as quickly as he can and moves across and steadies her with a hand on her shoulder and says, "Still, mother, guide me with your voice."
Do you not remember, Varhelion, the prophet of Regatha, Sul sun-kissed, the one who created this paradise for us many, many moons ago?
I do, but you know that my greatest struggle has been keeping my mind as my body fades.
You must remember how he defeated the legions of torment as they tried to conquer our lands many years ago. How he fought them back with the power of the sun itself.
And united the Ash-Elven clans.
Yes,
I remember.
That is why we have this Rubblemoot, Varhelion, in reverence of such hero of our people. It was with his power, his sun magic, and with the aid of his holy ancient scriptures, a page that you hold in your hand, was he able to battle back the hordes. But in doing so, he sacrificed himself to make a permanent paradise for us. It is what you see around us, Varhelion. I am ashamed that you have forgotten our own history.
It is more your history than mine.
Ah, you are right. You outage all of us combined. It
Not
seems.
quite so.
It seems, at least. You say there's stirring to the north?
Well, given the nature of my two companions, both having dwelt within a stronghold, be it as slave or servant, who have now both escaped the great evil there.
What brings them here? She kind of turns her head, kind of almost eerily in Xerxes' direction. How about you?
It is true, I was once a slave of the demons and fiends, but now I seek to return to them with vengeance.
Why is it that you seek me, Dajira, the wise woman of the clan Haran?
I am a sword, but I am a sword without direction. I need to know information about the whereabouts of these strongholds, where they are weak, where I can strike. And strike I will.
Your pride is astonishing, yet your ignorance disheartening, young man. I wish you, as a sword, have a proper hand to guide you. How about you? How about you? She turns to you, Red. Why have you come to seek me? What can I offer?
And Red would just say, great wise one. I would wish to learn from you and to achieve the level of peace and wisdom that you have so eloquently acquired over these years. I wish to be taught to be at peace, to be comforted with who I am and what I am.
What you ask, young girl, is something I find quite humorous. I cannot teach wisdom, but for peace, it is in the air. She kind of leans in. Specifically, it is in those candles. She kind of giggles. She pointing at the incense. It helps calm the nerves, the smoke. I am sure you can find some in the stalls out here in the Rubblemoot.
But what of peace with oneself, with one's own being? What of that? You seem to have that emanating from you. I can feel it.
Well, then I guess you know something that I don't. Your quest is an honorable one, but I don't know how frivolous it may be. You and I both know that peace of mind and peace of oneself is hard to come by. and even harder to encounter.
Yes, and that is why I wish to learn from anyone who I come across with it. And there is something else.
What is it?
If you can truly see what is around us, then surely you know of the fiend Bouchon.
Yes, I know that name all too well.
He has plans.
Yes.
I've heard whispering of these.
I was about to ask you the same thing. What of these plans? Varhelion mentioned you once worked as servant or slave under these tyrannous pit fiends, these lords. What do you know of the rising darkness to the north?
I only know the whisperings in dark rooms, and I know that when I was working under Bouchon, tieflings were disappearing.
Disappearing how?
In the
For what
night.
nefarious purpose?
In the night, and I didn't want to believe that the rumors are true, but I fear that they may be. That is breeding tieflings with humans.
What is that? How? I don't quite understand. Why would they do such a thing? What purpose does it serve?
And she kind of pauses and looks around very uneasily, as if, there may be ears listening wherever, and she kind of leans forward and she says, the purity of their souls would be enriched, the offspring. And for every generation, the soul would become more pure, tenfold, until and she would just kind of slump down. And
is that what they're after? Souls? Is that what this whole nightmare, this hell on earth itself, is it all just about our souls?
And she says, I believe so, wise one. I believe so.
What an abomination. There's no end to their evil.
We are just cattle to these fiends.
You see, wise one, this is why I seek to strike them down. They are the embodiment of fear, the embodiment of evil in this land. It will not end till I slit every one of their throats.
As do I, young warrior. Yet my power grows weak with each passing day. I cannot carry myself no longer on my own two legs. I envy your vigor. Yet I do not envy your stubbornness, your... You must understand that what you say is something near impossible, Xerxes. Something impossible without the holy scripture of Sul Sunkist himself. The pages in your in Varhelion's hands, they may lead you to the they may help you. She kind of blurts out. They might be what you seek in your quest.
Hello. Good, and you?
And at this point, Xerxes would quickly lean forward, and sudden high interest. Up to this point, he had known that this was such an impossible, difficult task, one that he never truly thought he would complete. He would just go out trying to kill as many fiends and demons as he could. But at the mention of a actual way to, a probable or plausible way to counter them, and of the fact that Varkelion in his hands has maybe one of the keys to the secret, he becomes very interested in what the wise one is saying.
I was just a child when it happened, but I remember the tales of Sul himself, using the words written on his page, speaking them, and watching the legions ahead of him writhe in agony and fall, turning but to dust in ranks, in droves ahead of him. It was a marvelous, miraculous sight. It might be what you seek to do, but you do not look like a sun-kissed. You do not have the power within you, the channel, Regatha, the sun above, to help you. And without that blessing, you may never enter Sul's tomb. If it is his pages you seek, they are buried with him in his tomb, here in the Rubblemoot.
This tomb, it's here, you say?
It is beneath our very feet.
This is surely what we've been searching for. We must find a way to enter, to get in, to find these pages. And maybe our best hope.
To do so, you understand, would be grave robbery. They are very sacred to us ash elves. And of course you may not enter without the blessing of the sun itself.
Well, I believe good ends justify the means. So if I have to grave rob, so be it.
I must rest. My head hurts. My throat. You must excuse me.
Of course. Thank you for the information, wise one.
May the sun shine upon your face, and may Sul shield us all.
And I think Xerxes would give like a little like bow as he's kind of sitting and just, yes, same to you. And
as, oh, sorry.
I'll go for it.
As Red would stand, she would suddenly turn towards the woman and say, if this destroys the fiends, what of the tieflings who have the demon blood coursing through their veins?
My wisdom and knowledge, young girl, only go so far. I know more than you do about the great power held within those words. But it is with you my hopes stand. I want to see this tyranny end just as much as you, if not more. I must rest. Seek out my daughter, Aji. She may be of more help, as she is more vigorous than I. Perhaps even more knowledgeable.
And Red would bow deeply. Thank you, wise one.
She's probably out preparing for the ritual now. Thank you for your presence. Please leave me be.
Yeah, and Xerxes would stand up and start walking out of the tent. Just thinking about the information that he just learned of, like possibilities, how he could possibly get there, like what, he could possibly do to obtain such powerful scriptures and how to wield them as he walks out of this tent.
Yeah, and as you three leave the tent, you see her return to her trance, her wide-eyed, unblinking, kind of sitting back straight up. Her legs continue to be crossed, and entering some kind of trance, just breathing very slowly in the perfumes of her incense to help calm her pains. And as you step out, out of the Khan's tent, you see a crowd of ash elves. They're all gathered. They're all quiet. They're holding on to their children or holding their hands at their sides. You see what looks to be a small circle of about 5 ash elves. They're all adorned in headdresses and shamanistic garb. And you see them holding hands, the 5 of them, and they're chanting some kind of magic. Even their words kind of glow with kind of an orange, kind of coalesce into a cloud. And as you continue to watch, you see this cloud grow bigger and bigger and lift into the sky. What do you guys do?
This probably look like more magic to Xerxes, so I think he would definitely keep his distance. Kind of as soon as seeing it, kind of stop in his tracks, just wanting to observe what's going on. Yeah, at a safe distance away, but still interested as to what's going on.
How about Red? How does she react to this grayish orange mist, this cloud, this nimbus, rise up from the mouths of these ash elf shamans?
I wouldn't see it, but would I maybe smell it?
Sure, yeah, you'd smell it. You smell the moisture in the air. You feel the moisture in the air from these clouds. You just hear the silence of the crowd and just the chanting in the distance, kind of mumbled, of these 5 mages, these shamans, casting a spell in union. And I imagine the 3 of you kind of just watch, kind of just observing, just as the crowd is. This nimbus rises higher. It's almost like mushroom shape now from their mouths, stretching across the sky, blotting out the sun, casting this village square in a thin shadow. And the sky darkens, and you hear this lightning arc from one side of the nimbus to the other. Thunder echoes and resounds, and you kind of hear the animals, the goats and the wolves, kind of like blah, 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 kind of bleat or bark or something or whimper at the sound of this thunder strike. And all of a sudden, water starts falling from the sky in big pellets, hitting the ground, splashing, hitting the tops of your heads, your faces. It washes over you, and it washes over the entire crowd, this rainfall. What's going through Xerxes' mind as this rain washes over him?
I'd say definitely complete astonishment. Like, to Xerxes, this almost seems like an act of God, or as close to an act of God as he's ever seen. Like, water is so scarce and such a valuable resource, and here he is standing in this heavy rainfall, being drenched by it, more water than he's ever seen before. And imagine him just like leaning back, tilting his head back, opening his mouth, maybe letting a few of the drops pour in. I imagine this rainfall almost has like a slight sweet taste to it. It's very refreshing and just rejuvenating. And he just catches himself, stands for a moment, just basking in it for a while in amazement.
And what of Red? How does she feel as this cool, refreshing water hits her face, hits her skin, hits her body, drenches her hair.
Red would actually start to laugh, starting off slow, but growing into this hysterical laughter. And every time she tries to stop or cover her mouth, like it just escapes. And she would just drop to her knees and finally, and then just keep her head up towards the sky where the rain is falling, feeling every drop on her face, just laughing.
Yeah. And the three of you get a point of inspiration.
Yay.
Oh, Ryan, you're back. Ryan,
Yeah,
for Helion,
Inspiration.
how do you feel as this rain washes over you from this orangey gray nimbus, this cloud blotting out the sky?
It brings back a lot of memories. Like a lot of, it brings back it all comes flooding back in one rush. My watching Sewell as he created this place, and I cry because it brings back memories of my childhood that I long thought lost when the rains would wash over the elven cities, and of my parents and family now long dead. Me, the last one living, and I cry. Silent tears that mix with the rainwater.
I imagine even as after a while, after Red starts hysterically laughing, Xyz would even give a little chuckle in there as he's just letting the rain wash over him. Just and happiness, really.
Yeah, and in this refreshing moment, your characters are each inspired, rejuvenated, finally, after such hardship, in that you get your point of inspiration. Because it hasn't ever rained for the three of you. It's probably the first time you've ever experienced it in your life, or even for Varhelion, the first time he's ever experienced it in a long time. And in this ritual of falling life, as it's called, the ash elves around in this crowd, they start to dance in the puddles, splashing water everywhere, their garments and clothes just drenched. They're each, hooking arms and dancing, and there's singing, there's drum beats, and there's, festivities in this celebration. Loud music, laughter, crying, hooting. I imagine even a group of ash elves, each with a kind of a cup, a horn, one of those horn goblets, coming up to the three of you and starting to hook arms and start to dance as well in this rainfall. And however you would respond to that, how would you respond to that initiation?
I see Xyz being very hesitant at first. Like, he's basically never danced his entire life or celebrated really anything. So I imagine someone hooks his arm, kind of leads him over a bit. He's slowly going with him. But after a while, he kind of grooves a bit. And, maybe after a couple minutes or so, he's just getting right in there with everyone, kicking the rain and moving his body and actually getting into it and kind of participating with them, kind of feeding off this energy that's going on. Again, letting his guard down like he's never really had the opportunity or experience to before.
How about Varhelion?
He smiles and kind of wanly, and just kind of goes along with it for a while before kind of just sliding out to watch with a bit of melancholy, but also true happiness at the side, because he's old and can't move quickly. But he accepts the drink of water and happily nurses it, appreciating the moment.
And what of Red?
Red would get pulled into it, still laughing, and a slight shrill cry, but of happy, like of along the hystericalness, not of fear, but, and she would go along with it, but slowly the laughter would stop. Her face would grow more sullen, and she would kind of keep shaking her head as if she was trying to get something out of her mind. And she would try to slip out of it after a while as well. At the first free opportunity that she had, she would try to slip out and try to make her way over to stand next to Varhelion. And she would say, I wanted to apologize for earlier. That was, my emotions got the better of me, and that was very childish for me to have that reaction. And I'm sorry. I should have not reacted before I knew the whole situation and all of the facts.
Basha would be proud of you for how you have grown. And with that, he just falls silent. He's old, and few words are needed.
And then I think Red would nod at that and just stand with silence next to him, also listening to the dancing and the festivities going on.
And in this moment, we kind of pan out. We see the ash elves. We take a big overhead view here. We see ash elf dancers. They're all dancing with one another. Kids are splashing in the puddles, forming. We see Red and Varhelion off in the distance, just watching the festivities occur. We see Xerxes being tangled up in, various people's arms, as, he's the popular one of the three.
I imagine even at points with the kids splashing, Xerxes would have an opportunity to go off to the side and with his hands come down in a big motion, just make this huge splash of water, having it wash over the children, kind of playing with them before he gets brought back into the arms of some of the ash elves to continue dancing.
Yeah, and the kids scream with delight as this puddle of water just splashes them, and the parents kind of give you a smile. Kind of wary at first, but knowing that this is all in good company, they give you, a nice smile. And as we pan out from this scene, we arrive on another scene. We see this scarbird flying across the sands. We see the statue of that tall figure with a sword in the distance as the scarbird flies away from it. We see this 8-foot-tall humanoid figure clad in metal plates and chain links wrapped around him from head to toe. He stands with a scythe gripped in both hands and kind of plants it in the sand. We kind of rotate the camera. Behind him, we see rank and file, hundreds of these red-skinned tieflings with their horns. We see humanoids with big bat-like wings kind of soaring above with these spears in their hands. We see various other assortments of demons and fiends, all rank and file in this legion behind him. We see the Scarbird soar around and land on this general, this plate armored general's shoulder. And then its body contorts and it turns into this red-skinned, horned, winged little imp and whispers in its little cackly voice, "Razil, I found them. I found them. There, I found the Rubblemoot too. Oh, aren't you proud of me? Aren't you proud of me, Razil? Oh. And he kind of just shakes him off. And he kind of points his scythe in the direction of that statue. And he just lets out the roar sound as you just hear this thunder of footsteps as legions of demons in armor, in weaponry, and tieflings garbed in such similar apparel. You see them march towards the statue. We pan back. It's been a while of this festivities. They've died down. People have started to become drunk with the ash yam vodka. And Hannibal, stop biting my cord. The festivities started to die down. People have started to collapse under the shade of trees. As the clouds have let up and dissipated by now, the shamans have retreated back to their tents. This spell has exhausted most of their stamina and their magical ability. They retreated. But you see one younger ash elf woman. She's garbed in kind of like these robes with the same symbol on her chest kind of painted on as the crest above that statue's head. It's kind of like a semicircle sun. She has it on her chest. And she seems like she's giving some kind of preach, some kind of, prayer and worship to the crowd that may or may not even be listening in their, half-drunken state. What are the three of you doing?
I think at this point, Xerxes has grown kind of tired of dancing and has just found himself plopped at the base of a tree with his back against it, just thinking about the events that just transpired. And he thinks to himself, wow, like this may be a place that my mother wanted me to find all those years ago. Xerxes never believed that such a place that lives not under the fear of the demons that monopolize this entire land and pose their evil ways upon everyone. He didn't think it existed. But now that he's observed such events, he begins to wonder if this was the place he was meant to be, if this was the place he was meant to find all these years. And he has a moment of peace, which he's rarely ever been able to cherish. But that's kind of his mental state and what he's thinking about in that moment.
How has Red taken to these festivities? They've lasted maybe a few hours now. What's she doing?
Red would be sitting, sufficiently drunk, just away far enough from the festivities to make everyone more comfortable with her presence, but close enough so that she can hear everything that's going on. And she would just kind of be listening and kind of off in her own world, thankful for the dreamy, absent-minded state that this yam alcohol has brought her. It has been many, many years since she had any sort of drink like this. Elder Basha was not a fan of drinking such things because it, muted your senses and it made you stupid. That's how he would say it. So the last time she had a drink was actually in the tiefling camps. And her mind would go to B, just thinking about all the things that had happened over the last few days, all the things that have transpired, and really just taking it in and really just absorbing it for the first time.
And what of Varhelion?
He's passed out drunk.
Ryan, if you're trying to talk, you're muted.
Oops, I forgot. He hasn't partaken in the Ashiam beverage because it dulls his already clouded memory and brings back the more painful memories of his past, sometimes with negative consequences. So he's trying to take the time to look over the other pages that the wise woman, Rajira, or Dajira, whatever, added of Sul's lessons, and he semi-listens in to the Sun-Kissed speaking, but he has a vague, niggling sense of worry that something is wrong with this Rubblemoot.
Yeah, and as this Sun-Kissed is what the Ash Elves call the current kind of head of worship. As she's preaching, to these words of prayer and this tradition to the Ash Elf people, kind of listen in. This is Arji, the daughter of the wise woman. You can tell they have the same face. You've seen Dajira when she was younger, and Arji just looks just like her if she was 50 years younger. There's just so much similarity between the two. And she finishes up her preaches and kind of steps down from the pedestal that she was preaching from. She walks past you, Varhelion, kind of, with like these nervous breaths, as if she is not a fan of public speaking. And she kind of just mumbling something. And she kind of maybe bumps into you, perhaps. And she's like, "Oh, I'm very sorry." And she looks to you, Varhelion, and sees who you are. "Oh, wow, Varhelion. It's great of you to be here. I did not see you come."
Our arrival has not been widely advertised, even if my companions might have otherwise attempted to spread the knowledge. But yes, I am here with the human and the tiefling.
Oh, those are with you? Oh, my condolences.
They are
the human
companions.
has been very taken kind of fondly of. She's looking, at she's recalling, the incidents that Xerxes has had with the women.
Mhm.
Oh, my condolences about the tiefling. You were aware she kind of made a scene earlier, didn't?
Yes,
No? Yeah.
and it was dealt with.
I'm glad. It's been so long for Helion.
Yes, you have grown into a great Sun-Kiss, taking over for your grandfather, who took over from his father, who took over from Sul himself.
Yeah,
You would do your line proud.
It's kind of nerve-wracking being the first female Sun-Kissed, first woman.
Well, the Ash Elves are nothing if not a mutable people. They will take kindly to you as long as you guide them in the correct direction.
Yeah, and I'm not even sure what that direction is. I listen to my mother. She speaks words of wisdom that I can't even fathom.
Well,
Say, come to my hut. I'll let your legs rest. Bring your companions too. I'd love to meet them.
that would be nice. I have this vague worry that this may be the last Rubblemoot. But if only there were something that Sewell could have foreseen. But his wisdom is now lost to us.
Yes, it's very tragic, but his legacy still carries on in this paradise we have for ourselves. It's a thing of peace, the thing of relaxation, just feeling this worry go away. Because here, in this land he gave us, we do not worry about having to not wake up the next morning. Each day here is a day that is safe. Anyway, sorry, I'm rambling. Yeah, it's just over here.
Yep. I go and try and gather my drunken companions. Okay, come. We're about to learn more.
Red
You
would
can
just
take-
like slowly give up, just slowly stand up, very unsteadily, probably just holding on to your shoulder of Varhelion to steady herself and for you to lead her essentially to where we are going, just very complacently without a word, just this stupid smile on her face.
Yeah, Xerxes would nod and then slowly get up from under the tree. Xerxes also doesn't really drink, as he always wants to be ready for combat and mentally sharp. But having let his guard down this entire time, he's had one or two of the yam drinks just to partake in the festivities.
Yeah, and this is what this ash elf woman looks like. She's got, this, the straw garments around her neck, this shawl, and then you see this chitinous armor she has, and she does have this spear, but it's kind of dressed up ceremonially, with fetishes and trinkets and such. She can't be any more than maybe like 20 years old, but and she is the sun-kissed of this current Rubblemoot. And so as she gathers you back to her hut, her room, her designated quarters as the sun-kissed, she's been, given a lot of amenities as one of the authorities amongst the Ash Elf people. We're going to take a little quick break because I really need to go to the bathroom.
I only have about 20 more minutes too.
Yeah. So I'll make sure to wrap it up in 20 minutes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm gonna wash him too. Okay.
We're just waiting for Ryan. He's got customers too.
I'm back.
All right, sweet. Oh,
Didn't miss. I didn't miss much, right?
she's just beckoning you to the
10. Yeah.
tent. Yeah, I showed her. I showed you guys what she
Yeah,
looked like.
I saw what she looked like.
And so, as she walks back, taking you into her tent, a lot of amenities have been provided to her as she's, of a very high station, high authority. And so there's luxurious, kind of food set out for her. She's barely touched it in her nervousness. She got cushions and beds and incense burning, and a person, even a servant that kind of bows out of the way as guests approach. He had been tidying up something, or he kind of bows out of sight into his own, maybe even he bows out of the tent as you guys arrive from a side entrance or from a side exit.
Mm-hmm.
And she sits down in these cushions, and it kind of beckons you to do as well. And she says, it's been a good Rubblemoot.
It has. It is good to be back amongst my people.
I agree. My time here has been quite enjoyable, and I thank you and your people for this.
It is the most gracious we could offer to an outsider like you. I know many here would object to your presence, but in these times, we need help from everyone we can get. Our Rubblemoot should be of open arms, but I understand in isolation we survive. In isolation we thrive. And that's just the way of the Ash Elves, she continued. But I'm sure you don't want to hear me lecture you, as I know how much I've had to lecture during that ritual of falling life. I was told by my mother that you were to come see me about something. What was it about?
These pages that once belonged to Sul. Do you know anything more than your mother? I kind of hand over the now broadening collection.
All I know is that the pages kept that are Sul's are kept in the tomb beneath our feet. Sul's tomb. And I wanted to correct you, Ryan. Dajira, the wise woman, did not give you any pages.
Okay.
She just
told me.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you'd give her the one page, and she'd recognize it. She'd kind of feel the headache, but she'd just pass it off as if it was nothing. She'd look at it and wow, where did you get this? No, it just doesn't matter. This would be great to put with the rest of the collection of Sill's pages.
Exactly. We believe the rest of these pages may very well be our best hope to combating the demon threat. If possible, we'd like to be able to find entry into this tomb.
I guess that's why my mother sent you looking for me. Yeah, okay. I can lead you there. We can go in for a visit and take a look.
Really? That would be incredible.
If you have my mother's blessing, then you have mine. So, I guess we'll get going now. I hate to, make your stay so short here in this hut. She kind of looks around. It's not her home. She doesn't feel like it's her home, but it's her home nonetheless. She kind of looks at you. I'm sorry to have to get you to stand up again, Varhelion. She kind of helps you up.
Mm-hmm.
In knowing your old legs are wrinkly and what do you call it? Creaky. Come
Wrinkly.
Wrinkly. Yes, your legs are wrinkly.
Great, lovely picture.
And
My
so
old
she-
man legs.
Yeah, and so she leads you out of her tent, her hut. She leads you down across the kind of the ledges, the stairs leading down to the oasis. Kind of rings around it, and you kind of shake your head at like how you could have missed it beforehand. There is, man, why do I not have any pictures? Holy crap! Oh, here, there. Behind this waterfall, there is just this ornate door. Screen share. I'm gonna try your screen share. Picture. Zoom in. This ornate door hidden kind of behind waterfalls and rocks on the far side of the oasis. You realize this kind of must have been where you stepped in from. You see the bank of where you first apparated after touching the statue. It was just right behind you this whole time. And she leads you down along this pathway, up these stairs, kind of around the waterfalls. And as she does so, you guys hear screams from all around you. You see figures blot out the sun in the sky. You see figures appear out of nowhere, right next to you. These figures, they've got their horns in their head. They're clad in black iron chainmail. They've got wicked flails around them. And as they kind of just poof, poof, poof out of nowhere in this lawn of where people arrive at the Rubblemoot, they kind of all gather stance. They get their shields up. They kind of press a little forward. You see these flying figures throwing javelins down, impaling, and as they impale something, it catches on fire. Tents burst into flames. And immediately, and then next, you hear this apparition of a figure clad in just these plate armors and this chain link that wraps around his whole body from head to toe. This wicked scythe he wields in his two hands. This red, 1 foot tall figure on his shoulder. This imp-like creature. He just chuckles in this deep, hearty sound, muffled by the armor covering his face. And you kind of just hear Aji go, oh shit, She sees the carnage around her, and immediately she lunges her hand onto this stone doorway up on these steps. What do you guys do in this moment?
Well, I want to figure out how we throw the wards up so no one else comes, and then we've got to figure out how to change it. But that's my long-term plans. My short-term plans are to hopefully toll the dead on these people and save as many ash elves as I can.
Yeah, so that's just an attack roll on them, right?
Yep.
So you just make your onerous sound as you rip the life force from one of these armored
And I'm
tieflings.
going to cast it as a 2nd level.
Cool.
So target 2.
Would I recognize this this big demon bad boy general?
You tell me, James, whether Xerxes recognize him or not.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, you totally do.
Yeah. Xerxes would just be astonished at first and mutter himself, "No, not here. Oh well, the time has come." And he'd take the pendant that he keeps so close to his heart always and give it a little kiss, tuck it back in, and put his helmet back on and kind of say to himself, "The time has come, Razul."
Wait, what does this wand do?
Yeah, you haven't figured that out yet.
No, can I try and use it as my attack action?
You totally could, yes.
I would like to do that.
You cast this wand in a wide arc I'd like you to make an Arcana check, please.
Okay. 19?
You're able to successfully channel the magic inside this wand. And from it comes this healing wave of energy.
Cool.
Everyone within like a 5-foot radius of you heals 5 hit points.
So my companions.
Yes.
Good.
But it does not inflict any harm upon the armored tiefling ahead of you.
That's good. That's fine. I just wanted to know.
And Aji presses her hand as she leaps into it, onto the stone. Quick, come in here. We must protect the tomb of Sul. It is what they're after. Come in. We'll seal it from the inside.
And I think at this point, Red would. I want Red to stand in front of Xerxes, just like this little thing, and she's gonna like try and put her hand on his chest and stopping him from going forward and say, "No, you will die. This is not the time. We need to get those pages. We will die if we stay and fight. And then what will happen? This is not the time."
And I'm pretty sure at this point, Xerxes' initial astonishment of seeing this demon that he's been tracking for years and years and years, fixated on getting revenge on this specific demon, his astonishment turns to anger, like deep anger, more angry than he's ever felt, more bloodthirsty than he's ever felt to strike down a fiend.
And unfortunately, you have this bloodlust for this demon. But you realize there's 10, 12 of these, soldiers in the way between you and him that you'd have to shove past. Like, you guys are outnumbered easily 10 to 1 here, maybe even 20 to 1, as just more and more of these soldiers appear out of thin air, kind of like butting into each other and then getting back into rank and file.
Yeah, and so Red would just be like yelling at him, trying to get through this like bloodlust daze he's probably in, and just say, "We must get into the temple." And I'm gonna push him.
Ryan just wheeling out his
I
creaky
think
bike.
as Xerxes is being kind of shoved back. Can you hear?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yep. Oh, did he die?
No, I'm.
As he's being like shoved back, I think Xerxes, knowing he has to go into the temple.
Oh no, he turned into a robot. James is now a
All your
robot.
voices are pretty like yowdy. Okay, so anyways, as he's kind of being pushed back, knowing his probably only chance of survival is retreating into the temple, Xerxes would just yell out, "Razul! Amen. I will have your throat."
Yeah, and as she just like helps you, pulls you inside one after the other, and her hands are glowing yellow still after pressing this tomb, and she just makes a clapping gesture with her hands, and these stone doors, 3 feet thick, come slamming shut right in your guys' face. The blast of wind blasting your hair back. You kind of hear muffled sounds of just carnage from the other side of this door. You hear Ajay say, "We gotta get to those pages. We have to go now." And that is where we are going to end the session.
Nah.
Oh, it's going down.
All right. Megan, you can hit the button now.
Cool. Yeah.
That was